On into the sports bar, it's Danger and Battaglia here live from the William J. Pellicano Pavilion on the campus of St. John Fisher University. Buffalo Bills training camp continues, and we continue at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester on YouTube, on Twitch. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app, and you can also get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. I'm Danger. He's Battaglia. We've got another great afternoon lined up for you here at St. John Fisher.
We should make August 3rd a holiday in Western New York every year to celebrate the birthday of Marv Levy. 98 years young today. Danger, I want to make it to 98. I'm saying it right here.
Yeah, and still sharp, by the way.
Yeah.
He'll be acknowledged this weekend, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game tonight in Canton. We do have football tonight between the Jets and the Browns. Don't know how competitive the game will be in terms of stars that you'll see on the field, but it will be football. We will be tuning in, and this will be the start of an exciting weekend for 9 new inductees there in Canton. Marv Levy will be there. I believe I heard Brownie say earlier on One Bills Live that he is the oldest living Hall of Fame inductee, which is quite the honor. And Sean McDermott actually earlier today, speaking at length on Marv Levy and the impact he's had on him as a man, as a head coach. We'll give you that audio from earlier today. Sean McDermott speaking to the media before practice. If you missed it, we'll play that for you coming up here later on this afternoon, right around 4 o'clock on the Sports Bar. We've also got a great conversation lined up from earlier today that we had with the host of the Locked On Bills podcast. Joe Marino was very, very kind with his time. Gave us a good 20 minutes earlier today to really kind of talk about some of these camp battles, position battles that we have going on. And that is coming up for you later this afternoon, right around 4:25.
Yeah, the idea that the middle linebacker position is this battle, and everybody's got their theory on who it's going to be, but actually what goes into it. Everybody kind of understands that one player gets to wear the green dot, but the communication part of it, who might be best suited for that role. We'll talk some Dalton Kincaid. We'll talk some corner two. I don't think we should overlook Josh Allen, just kind of take it for granted, because for Josh Allen, can he rise to an MVP level? What does he have to do to sharpen his game up? Those topics and more with our friend Joe Marino from the Locked On Bills podcast.
The guy who was a true difference maker on the Bills' defensive line last season, joining us later on this afternoon as well. Daquan Jones stopped by the sports bar after practice, and our conversation with him is coming up here in about 20 minutes or so.
He is from outside Binghamton. Now, we might be kind of getting greedy here, but are we allowed to claim him as one of our own this week, Danger?
That's what we do.
Well, like we can claim Rory, like we can claim,
yeah. Yeah, Daquan Jones, Rochesterian, obviously. No, but it is funny. We found this out as Daquan was being scheduled with us. Our engineer, Derek, the pizza dude. Derek, the pizza dude, played collegiate football. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he played at Fisher, and unfortunately, concussions cut it short for Derek, but he's done very well for himself. Derek claims, that he pancaked Daquan.
Yeah.
You are lying. Show me the proof.
Yeah.
No, that's an absolute lie, Derek.
What are you going to tell me next? That Rochester had an NBA team? Get out of here with that. No, I think Derek was sparse. I mean, when Daquan was here, Derek was nowhere to be found. He cut out of here so fast when he heard that Daquan was going to be here. I think it's the other way around. I think Daquan probably got the best of the pizza dude.
I think that I'm a little suspicious because all of a sudden Derek's like, there's an emergency with 98PXY.
Yeah.
I have to go to Pinnacle Hill immediately and check out the tower. This is how you guys,
Mighty convenient that his former nemesis across the line in high school football wasn't here for that. But Daquan Jones was fantastic. Our conversation with him from earlier today coming up here at 3:25. We've got our usual fare on tap. We'll get to a round of shots during happy hour after 5 o'clock. A couple of news and notes to get to from around the NFL, of course, with that Hall of Fame game tonight in Canton. We'll have some appetizers for you. And takes on tap with I'll Drink to That. That's coming up, and I do have a Hall of Fame take that I want to share here coming up before 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. You're welcome to join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you want to pull up a stool here in the sports bar.
Yeah, I've got. We're going to get to the conference realignment stuff too. That is going to happen way sooner than anybody thought. That is going to be a storyline that's going to kind of take over the weekend. So a lot here planned in the sports bar. Practice today, owner Terry Pegula on the sidelines today, taking it all in. There was, I guess scare might be a strong word, but as Joe Marino pointed out, that the right tackle, Spencer Brown, I don't know if his back locked up, but he just had to kind of cut it short. Trainers were looking at him like, oh no, what could this be? Well, Alex Brasky then later on saw it's Spencer Brown zipping around in one of the bikes.
Right.
You know, that's a common sight, by the way, here at Fisher. You got to keep your head on a swivel here because you never know who might be flying
Almost
by.
got run over by Poyer on the way up to the immediate dining hall there. Yeah, they're zipping around in those scooters quite a bit. But in terms of Brown, I guess lunch can cure all ails. I mean, the zipping on the scooter to get to lunch rather than dealing with pain in your back. Let's hope Spencer Brown is okay. He's got that history with that back, and he's going to be a key to that offense.
Well, I mean, it's a key, and I'm wondering if that's – we talk about how the defensive line, boy, do you keep Boogie Basham? Do you keep A.J. Epineza? Is there a guy that's going to rise up? Bills might be a little deep there. I don't know who the swing tackle is this year on offense, so that's something to look forward to. And how many days until the Bills' preseason game, Danger?
We are are we 9 days away? Are we really?
That's it.
9 days away.
9 times.
All right, we're almost there.
Anytime I can tee you up on that, we're going to do that here in the sports bar.
Yeah. Well, you have to give me my fastball isn't what it normally is because we're on location. But yes, I don't have quite the toolbox that I have when we're in our normal setting. But yes, I will be ready for that when you want to give me.
I love it. Corporate IT director is coming in next week and like, okay, give us a list of everything. Okay, faster this, faster that.
Oh yeah,
faster, fast.
How much time do we have with her? Is she here for a week? Because I could use up that time. All right, so some notes from practice today, and it was a strong day for both corners, Dane Jackson and Kyer Elam, both hauling down a pick in 11-on-11 drills. You'll hear from Coach Sean McDermott later on in the show, and one of the topics that was brought up during his press conference was setting a date and whether or not there would be a firm, date to determine who wins some of these camp battles. And I think what we're going to learn specifically with corner 2 is that there might not be a winner in terms of a camp battle at corner 2, that you might actually see situational movement between, Dane Jackson versus Kyer Elam and really use that position dependent on what your matchup is on any given week, because they're all showing different strengths and certainly different weaknesses as well. Christian Benford also competing for that spot as well. So you had the pick today from Dane Jackson in 11-on-11. Elam with an interception of his own that looked like a miscommunication on offense between Allen and his receiver. And all three, Jackson, Elam, and Benford, continue to rotate with the first and second team units with Trey White opposite. 2
Dane Jackson observations, and both were in the red zone. If you went to practice today, you might have saw both of these plays. One, it's just a slant pass over the middle thrown by Josh Allen. Intended receiver is Khalil Shakir. And Jackson breaks it up. Good job. But it's a physical play. They're wearing shells, not pads. Shakir goes down hard, and he stays down an extra second, but he takes a face plant, and it's the old-fashioned getting up, and then there's some grass in the face mask itself, and Josh Allen comes over, gives him a big hug, and Shakir you think is going to be okay from that. He was fine after that, just a hard bang play. The other one, and the Bills have put this out on social media, where Jackson's in good coverage. It's Gabe Davis, though, just doing the inside-out sort of pattern, and just gets enough separation for the one-handed catch that would go for a touchdown, which there's a lot of people pointing out that Gabe Davis has really kind of stepped it up in this camp, and that was certainly a spectacular catch from this morning.
A name to keep an eye on here because he was just signed a few days ago. He's brand new to the team, but he's made a few big catches and has shown up through practice here, and I have a feeling we're going to see his name called a lot when preseason games get underway. That would be Eddie Isabella, 5'9", 188, the former Arizona Cardinals second-round pick. Has been making some plays and did a good job today during 11-on-11 drills here at practice. So keep an eye on Andy Isabella. Khalil Shakir, you mentioned, doing a good job with his opportunities, but he'll make some fantastic catches and then some catches where some drops where you're like, got to have that one. So a little bit maddening with Shakir. I think you expect him when you know the standard that's being set by Diggs, anytime a ball hits the ground off of a wide receiver, it's not going to go over well.
Yeah. I wish I could tell you like Diggs was like this. I'm trying to rack my brain last year, but it's noticeable, and we've heard that from people how Diggs is just holding everybody to a level of accountability here in this camp.
How about that middle linebacker battle? Boy, that's something we're going to ask Joe Marino about next hour in terms of which one of these players, whether it be Balen Spector, whether it be Tyrell Dotson or Terrell Bernard, who could actually rise up and claim that vacant spot with Tremaine Edmonds moving on in free agency. It was Balen Spector getting reps both there and on the weak side behind Mac Milano, so they're using him in multiple ways. You're not really seeing Dorian Williams at all, and this was Coach McDermott earlier today saying that Williams has yet to practice in the middle. It doesn't look like he's going to be any sort of a factor in that competition. We haven't seen them there through camp, and I don't think that that's going to change. So where you have Dorian Williams, a third-round pick from this year, kind of looking like he's going to be behind Milano, you have Spector playing both sides. You have Terrell Bernard and Tyrell Dotson both seeing reps with the first and second unit at middle linebacker. And really, I think with the linebacker battle, it's going to come down to how these guys play in game situations, in those preseason games, how that communication goes. We know the physicality, the strengths and the weaknesses of all three of those guys, but ultimately, how do they perform in a game day setting?
Yeah, that's what we're all going to be paying attention to, and it could be something, and Sean McDermott, which we will have his press conference coming up at around 4 o'clock or so, you're going to hear him get pressed on timelines. And quite often when it comes to injuries, no coach wants to give you a timeline. But I think it's fair to ask the question, maybe you get a response, what the timeline would be. And here's the spoiler alert. Well, he's not going to give you a timeline on this, on any of them. So
right.
He's not going to paint himself into a corner like, yes, we would like to have the middle linebacker all sewn up by the second week. I'm sure privately he wants it done yesterday, but you got to kind of let this play out. And, again, we're still 9 days away from our first preseason game, and there's no rush on it right now.
Tim Settle back on the field today after he missed practice on Tuesday. Saw the return of backup corner Kyron Brown as well. He missed a couple of days. You had two players out once again today, and Brian Thompson, who's out with a concussion. Wide receiver Brian Thompson. Isaiah Coulter has a knee issue that kept him out of today's session as well. And we mentioned the Spencer Brown scare there at the end of practice. He met with a couple of trainers. They all walked off the field before the rest of the team finished up their post-practice stretching. So what's next? How about the return of the blue and the red? That happens tomorrow. Practice tomorrow starts at 5:30 at Highmark in Orchard Park for the return of the blue and the red.
Yeah, and McDermott also talking about this, like the purpose of tomorrow night. Sure, it's a great big show. If you're lucky enough, go tailgate, go have some fun. For all these rookies, though, you've never even been in that locker room. I mean, you practice, across the street there, essentially, in the field house. So just getting them used to what would be kind of a game day routine. And I think the hope would be that if you're heading out tomorrow night, you'll see a little more 11 and 11. It'll feel a little bit more like football, tomorrow night. And hopefully the weather's going to be nice here today. This morning, we all woke up. I'm like, oh, my goodness. We've been kind of blessed here the last year since the Bills have come back to Fisher. And this morning was like, okay, maybe this is one of those days where it's just going to be steady rain. But that quickly cleared up. And by the time the team took the field, the sky was clearing up.
I think they've been blessed with the weather. I mean, it really did stop right before practice today. You might have had a little bit of a wet field to deal with, but no rain during practice today. You had one practice last week that was where it did get wet. It came down pretty good during practice, but which I think you need. I think that's good for the team to practice in those elements. You had a day of excessive heat. I think it's good that they practice in the excessive heat as well, and then everything else has been fairly comfortable for the Buffalo Bills here at practice. You had NFL Network here today, too. I saw all the NFL Network people milling about.
Quick story on that because Pizza Dude and I were out here, 8:15, 8:30 setting up this morning. And walking over to us, it's Steve Mariucci. I'm like, good morning, Coach. How are you? I got a question. Where are we? And we're pointing, you're over there, and we're pointing on the other side of the field. Oh, okay, is there any, and it's pouring this way, is there any way I can get over there without, kind of exposing myself? Like,
He didn't want to get his hair wet.
No, I don't know. But somebody might have an umbrella here around, so I don't know what the result of that was.
Yeah,
so,
he didn't want to get his hair wet.
No,
You're
it's
on
like
TV.
a big deal. On TV,
Yeah,
and he's got nice hair too.
He's got that product that Perino uses. I think that's what he's working with, though. That what does he call it? Cement, whatever it is.
Yeah,
flexible cement. Flex cement.
That's his next project. He's got his own wing, and now he'll have his own hair care product.
Well, yeah, I seeing Mariucci on the set with the guys from One Bills Live earlier this morning with Jeremy on WGR. It was nice seeing him. I saw Ian Rappaport milling about earlier today as well. The entire crew. Hansen was here. So NFL Network today on site here doing their reports from St. John Fisher.
Yeah. So again, we got a lot coming up. Daquan Jones. That was a fun. We've had some really good luck with our guests here stopping by, from Josh Allen this year, Taron Johnson. We have it all on demand if you missed any of this at any point. So I mean, this stuff, as we call it, kind of evergreen here when it comes to camp stuff. And these guys in a relaxed setting, these have all been fun conversations.
Sure, yeah, plenty of ways to keep caught up on everything that's happening here. All of our content, of course, in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Search out the Sports Bar. All of our guest appearances are listed for you there. Our YouTube channel has been fantastic with our conversations and our live video streams here from camp, all available to you when you find the Sports Bar. Or the Fan Rochester, I should say, the Fan Rochester on YouTube. Also on Twitch for our live stream each and every afternoon as we continue live from St. John Fisher. You're always welcome to tweet us at the Fan Rochester. I'm at AKA Mike Danger. He's at Gene Battaglia. Dan wants to know if we're going to be doing the show from the stadium practice tomorrow. If not, tell the bosses to send you.
I know. I got asked that twice today, and the reason, folks, we don't do it, they don't get going until we would be kind of wrapping up. So we would be out there, and it'd be like an extended pregame show. So we're just going to go back to the studio tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back in the regular High Falls studio tomorrow for from 3 to 6. But yeah, we'll have all of the highlights from not just tomorrow's Blue and Red, but we'll be back on Monday here on site. Close practice on Monday.
Yeah.
But we'll be here to report on whatever it is we can get our eyes on during a closed practice.
It's tough. That's the one where the rules are a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't tell if the public isn't here. We can't tell you exactly what happened. I can tell you Sal Capaccio will be stopping by Monday.
Oh,
so
love that.
Yeah, I feel kind of sheepish. We haven't even had him on in camp, but he's been buzzing all around here. So he'll
talked to Sal earlier today.
Yeah.
I mean, Sal, like the rest of us, really, really busy during camp, and also like the rest of us, has responsibilities outside of his job reporting on the Buffalo Bills. I think he was heading back to Buffalo tonight for a Little League game for his son Max. So, catching up with Sal earlier today, it'd be nice that we have him on with us on Monday, a day where practice is closed to the public, but we'll keep you guys updated on everything happening. Here's what we like to say: we will be your ears and eyes from St. John Fisher College for the Buffalo Bills while they're in town for training camp.
We're going to watch tonight. I'm telling myself, lower my expectations. Here's my expectation for Browns and Jets tonight. Hearing just the music. It's football season.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it. Maybe we'll get a good interviewer. Maybe they interview Marv Levy tonight if he's going to be there.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll be in the garage, the Italian living room, just kicking back, cold one, and the sounds of football back on the big screen. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get somewhat of an entertaining product. I'm doubtful because of the lack of stars that will likely be on the field, but just to check it out and to get that feeling that football is back. That's tonight from Canton with the Hall of Fame game happening. All right, let's move on to Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones, who was kind enough with his time to stop by the Sports Bar after practice earlier today. We'll get that conversation for you next here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia as we are live from St. John Fisher University, Buffalo Bills training camp on the Fan Rochester.
It happens just once a year. It's the annual Jacuzzi Truckload Sale at the Ace Swim and Leisure Chilai Avenue store location. This week, only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the lowest prices of the year on the only original jacuzzi brand. We're talking spas, we're talking swim spas, we're talking huge savings and special financing available. 3313 Chilai Avenue. You're going to find a parking lot full of savings. The trucks are here now, but it'll be gone by Sunday night. It's Ace Swim and Leisure.
Welcome back to Buffalo Bills Training Camp Live. It is St. John Fisher University, the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Rochester, fresh from the practice field. We welcome in Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones. How are you today, bud?
Good, man. How are you?
Great. We had this whole thing planned out today. So you're from Johnson City.
Yep.
Our engineer, Derek, now played at Corning East for 4 years.
Okay.
And we were hoping that there was video somewhere of you pancaking him or something like that. But what is it like when, for an NFL athlete, when you go back home, and it's close by, but being a role model, showing other kids that, hey, you can make it too here?
Yeah, I think it's very important to go home to your roots and kind of show people that, no matter what the situation is or whatever environment you grow up in, you can make it out if you have the right mindset. And I love going home and be able to talk to people like that and kind of just keep encouraging them and let them know that, the sky's the limit. And you can do anything you put your mind to. So I love going home and doing that for sure.
No, Daquan, I'm going to choose to believe that he's not here because he heard you were going to be on set and he ran away out of fear. He wanted nothing to do with your business, having his experience with you back playing in high school. Does Rochester feel kind of like home to you, being from the area?
Yeah, very, very similar. Historical buildings. It all looks the same to me. Even in Buffalo, Buffalo's a little bigger, Rochester's bigger, but I get the same hometown feels. I'm in both of them, so it does feel like home for me.
Yeah, our guest, Daquan Jones, Buffalo Bills tackle. We saw Eric Washington running the practice yesterday. Give us some insight as to what Coach is like there.
He's a straight, old school military mindset, very direct, but at the same time, he does a heck of a job of coaching his players and coaching our room and make sure, teaching the man and the player will follow. It's one of his biggest philosophies, and I love that about him. So he's gonna, coach you in everyday life. At the same time, he's gonna translate to the field, and I think that's why he got the attention of the respect of the group so much.
Daquan Jones joining us here in the sports bar. Daquan, one of the changes from last year to this year, soft-spoken Leslie Frazier, defensive coordinator last year. Yeah. This year, it's Sean McDermott. Yeah. I'm curious what the differences are. Is there a different level of intensity with McDermott now calling the plays?
He's out there cracking jokes with guys in the walkthrough and stuff like that. He's kind of just more in the mix of it all. It's a little different, but at the same time, we all know it's going to be a little different because having someone new calling the plays. But he's doing a heck of a job, man. And, I love the fact that he goes out there and he goes in the meeting room. He's teaching everyone the game of football and explaining why we're doing some things in certain situations. I think it's going to help the young guys really understand and grasp why we do certain things and not just go out there and do it. So I love that aspect of it.
You were on some good lines in Tennessee, spent the 1 year in Carolina, and now it's a team this year. You had Leonard Floyd. You had Poona Ford. Is this the deepest unit you've worked with?
Yeah. I would say so confidently that all levels, first, second, third, whatever, the whole group. There's talent everywhere. You know what I mean? And, it just makes you want to go out there every day and put the pedals to the metal and grind because, the bark on your heels. But you want that, though, because all it's going to do is raise the intensity and the drive with the group. And going out there and seeing everyone out there just flying around making plays, man, you just love to see it. So definitely the deepest group I've had.
Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones joining us in the sports bar. We are
Penn State.
Yeah. Just making sure, because we saw Terry Pagula roaming the sidelines earlier, and we know how much he likes his Penn State guys. What kind of a relationship do you have with Terry?
I met him when I first got here. We haven't talked too much, but when we first came here, we talked a little bit. He's been up in the Vestal area and stuff like that. I said hi to him today, but it's kind of cool to have a Penn State guy who owns the team. So I love that aspect of it for sure.
You're 31, which is you're still a young man. Football-wise,
thank you.
Yeah. No, honestly, honestly, but we heard Steph Diggs day one at camp said something interesting. How it's a sense of urgency for him, knowing that there are more days behind him than there are ahead of him. Do you kind of view that through the same lens, Daquan?
Yeah, I know how the league works. I know the thought process behind everything, and I am in year 10, and everything I'm on my last leg, but. That's like my motivation for real. I go out there and keep up with the young guys, you call it or whatever it is, but I'm going out there and trying to compete at a high level and just try to show people that, it doesn't matter how old you are in this league. If you can still play, you can still play, right? So I can kind of see where Diggs is coming from, but at the same time, I try not to think about it that much. Just go out there and kind of just prove people wrong in that sense and go out there and play my style of football.
Daquan, I want to go back to the end of last season. You're injured for that Bengals game, and I imagine that was real difficult for you to watch and not be able to control the outcome of that game. Take us through what led to the decision to not be in the lineup that day.
I mean, really, it just came down to like if I go out there and play, how much more damage can I do to it? You know what I mean? So it was a game time decision. I worked it out all week, and I tried to do stuff before the game to see if I can get going and get active, and it just wasn't budging how I wanted it to. And I was confident in the guys to go out there and get the win and go on to the next week. So I was also thinking about that too. I wouldn't want to go out there, play, get the win, and still can't play next week. So I was kind of depending on the team to go out there and get the win so I can go and play next week. But we didn't get it done, and I got to live with that decision. So
mentally, how tough is that for you to be on the sideline for that?
Pretty tough because I pride myself to take care of my body all year, and I did everything necessary to kind of stay healthy, and just to have it happen on the last play like that was kind of annoying. So it was definitely frustrating. At the end of the day, I can't do nothing about it now, but just make sure I take care of my body.
But do you
more.
carry that chip into this season?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I feel like I have something to prove even more. I mean, I feel like I left my guys down out there, not being out there and not helping them get ready for the game. So, whatever I can do this year, I'm gonna do it to make sure we're all right on the same page and ready for week one.
Just my opinion. You didn't let anybody down. It's
Man,
honestly, it's good you're taking that on. Daquan Jones, our guest here. What does it say about the Bills organization, though? Because I would imagine there's other teams that, get out there. You're fine. Or we really need you out there. The fact that the Bills were looking out for your best interest.
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily told me that, all right, come on, let's go out there and play. And I've been in places where, they wanted people to play banged up. And, it's a testament to how they are and, what their character is, especially with Nate and Sean, and just be able to go out there and take care of the guys for real. So I really do appreciate them that aspect of just helping me out and take care of me and get me in here to come into year 10.
Daquan, there's a lot of competition on the Bills' offensive line this year. You're going up against these guys every day in practice. What are you seeing so far out of the right guard competition, left guard? I mean, new faces in new places. How's it been going up against that offensive line?
They've been out there competing their butt off since day one. And, no matter who's in there, there's not really a drop-off. They're out there competing to come off the ball, they're flying, they're being physical. And, we as a D-line, we talked about the other day, the best we've seen them, even last year, the best group. No matter who's in there, they're coming off the ball and they're doing their job. So I'm excited to see he comes out that wins that battle.
How do you like the camp setting here, Daquan? And do you have friends and family coming up to watch it?
Yeah, I mean, I got like 10 people here today. High school teachers and coaches. They're over there with their kids and stuff. So they come up here to support me. My dad comes up pretty often. So it's kind of cool seeing them over here and being in this environment. I love the setup. I love how. We're in the dorms, come down here to practice. And I love the whole vibe.
Did you have that same setup with Carolina, with Tennessee, or was that where you're at the facility?
Yeah, Tennessee, we're at the facility. Carolina, we went to Spartanburg College, but the setup here is a lot better. Over there, if you felt like you were in college, open bathroom, it was miserable over there, but way better over here. So I love this setup.
Last one for me, Daquan, and it's about the Bills and the expectation, because this time last year, Super Bowl favorite, and we all know how last year went.
Yeah.
This year, there's people that are not even picking you for the division. Do you take exception to that? Do you use that as motivation?
No, I mean, keep all the lights on who you want, the Jets and Miami, keep them on them. We're going to be over here in the shadows just working and work on our craft and trying to be the best team we can be and best individual players we can be, make the team better. But that really does not bother me at all. I mean, they get paid to talk and start, drama and stuff like that. So let it be. And all we can do is come to work every day and button up our shirts and go out there and work.
Daquan, really appreciate you giving us some time this morning.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate you stopping by after practice. Enjoy the rest of camp. Enjoy the preseason. Stay healthy, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good. every time they win with FanDuel. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $100 in bonus bets guaranteed, plus another $10 in bonus bets for every Team USA win. Just go to FanDuel.com/Mike. Sign up between now and the end of the day today, August 3rd. Then place your first $5 bet to unlock your bonus bets. That way, you'll be all set to bet on everything from total goals to player props all tournament long. We know Sweden, the next opponent for the U.S. women's national team. You can bet that game with great promotions every day inside the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Safe, secure, and when you win, you get paid instantly. However you want to play, don't miss your chance to get $10 in bonus bets for every Team USA win, plus $100 in bonus bets guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com/Mike to sign up today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
It happens just once a year. It's the annual Jacuzzi Truckload Sale at the Ace Swim and Leisure Chilai Avenue store location. This week, only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The lowest prices of the year on the only original jacuzzi brand. We're talking spas. We're talking swim spas. We're talking huge savings and special financing available. 3313 Chilai Avenue. You're going to find a parking lot full of savings. The trucks are here now, but it'll be gone by Sunday night. It's Ace Swim and Leisure.
The Bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, we're back at St. John Fisher University, live from the William J. Pelicano Pavilion, right next to the Policini Field, track and field. Danger and Battaglia. I'll drink to that. It's some takes on tap.
There's a reporter that's been covering the Pac-12 for a long time. His name is John Wilner. He's reporting to expect within the next 24 to 36 hours the fate of the Pac-12 will be determined. His words, wow, it's going to be a land grab here for the Big Ten, the Big 12. Who knows what else? There's another report that says that Oregon and Washington could be headed. Look, I know what you might be thinking. That doesn't impact us. What do I care? Well, it could. Let me explain. The Big Ten fancies itself on being smart. You know, we have Michigan, we have Northwestern. Yes, and they could take Stanford and Cal along for the ride. They also might want some markets east. They reportedly are looking at North Carolina.
Wow.
Virginia. I haven't seen anything with Duke, but why not? And Mike Waters of the Syracuse Post-Standard is going to join us tomorrow in the Sports Bar. If the ACC is the next to get cherry-picked, and Florida State, and forgot to mention them, they want out.
Yeah.
Then you know what for Syracuse? Go back home. Go to the Big East. That is your home. And let football land where it may be. You can build a winning basketball program in the Big East. That's possible. Building a football program wherever in this new landscape for Syracuse? Tell me how that's going to work.
You'll have a football program. It just won't be a competitive one. And, yeah, I mean, I've been saying it ever since. Like, last season, it really hit me. The Big East basketball product is really, really good. It might be the best conference for college basketball in the country just because it's entertaining again. There's rivalries again. And if Syracuse is a part of that, I think you can capitalize. But it wouldn't shock me to see, with all of this going on, nothing would shock me anymore. I mean, how do you feel if you're Apple TV and you just made this commitment to the Pac-12 now that the Pac-12 is, you know, these reports that the Pac-12 made – this conference could dissolve, and then what do you do if you're Apple TV and you made this deal? Is the deal void? It has to be, right? There has to be something.
I think the way they couched it, it's like if you're dumb enough to take this deal where, hey, if we reach these subscriptions, then you'll get this money, but wink, wink, we know you won't.
Yeah.
I mean, it took how long to say this is the best you could actually come up with? Some profit share based on subscriptions?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rough look for the Pac-12 once proud conference, but we already knew that with USC, UCLA bolting for the Big Ten that there was going to be more of a shakeup, and it seems like it's just a matter of time before you see more dominoes fall. Oregon, Washington, who knows what else. And, boy, this is going to be an interesting story to watch. I'm glad we have Waters on tomorrow to kind of explain what this might mean for Syracuse moving forward. Rondé Barber, Joe Klecko, Darrell Revis, Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, DeMarcus Ware, and three others make up this year's 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame class. And while each in their own way had spectacular careers, none of these guys are what I would consider to be top-tier Hall of Famers. And Deion Sanders was the first that once mentioned how the club has gotten a lot less exclusive in recent years. A hall could benefit from what he called an upper room where you have the best of the best. Your guys like Tom Brady, your Joe Montana's, yes, your Deion Sanders as well. And I'm all for that, Gino. 9 inductees is too many, especially considering the quality of each inductee. But this will never happen. Like everything, money is the reason why. The more inductees, well, the more people visit Canton. The more visitors to Canton, the more money into the hall. I love Coach Prime's idea. He's not wrong. But because of the money, it'll never happen.
It's the same thing with Cooperstown. I mean, did you see this year's class? Scott Rowland? Scott Rowland's a Hall. No, he's not.
A Hall of Very Good.
Yeah, and also going in Fred McGriff, where I like the Tom Emanski video, and he hit a bunch of home runs for a bunch of different teams, but no, like all these Hall of Fames have too much. You can kind of pare it down there, but like you said, is that really good for? You know what? We're not inducting anybody this year.
We forget, and it's easy to forget, but we forget how much of everything is a business. We're at a prestigious university here. St. John Fisher University is a business, right? Like let's cut to the chase and recognize that, if we're enjoying those turkey burgers, it's coming at the expense of St. John Fisher University.
Well, they know we're going to talk about the wonderful turkey
That's right.
burgers and the wonderful setting here at
That's
St.
right.
John Fisher University. And yes, I am biased.
Correct.
Colts owner Jim Irsay. Anytime we have the opportunity to talk about Jim Irsay, I'm going to take it. This is a little out there. Did you see this, Danger?
Yeah.
He is backing a $20 million plan to release Tokita the orca from her enclosure in Miami and release her to a bay near Seattle. Literally an orca whale. He's going to pay $20 million to somehow fly it way across the country and get it back to its natural habitat. And look, sometimes the punchline is just way too obvious. I'll just kind of say that, like, okay, you're going to free the whale and you got your other football team here and you can't afford anything with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, which leads me to a revised power ranking.
Oh, power rankings.
Yeah, well, the Commanders I don't have as dysfunctional anymore.
Well,
we got to let the new owners, maybe they land on this list. You tell me where you agree or disagree on this. Number 5, dysfunction, the Miami Dolphins. Yes, they made the postseason last year. Yes, they'll be competitive. Yes, their owner concocted a plan to hire Sean Payton and tamper with Tom Brady, costing him a first-round pick. So, no, the Dolphins are not off this list. Number 4, the Houston Texans. They could be off the list soon, but not with that owner.
Yeah.
Number 3, the Raiders. They kept their head coach because they were going to pay him anyways. Well, you know what? Okay, yeah. There's only one team where if we talk about money problems, it's Vegas and Mr. Haircut there. Number 2, I'm pointing the Colts. And number 1, the Browns. I'm sorry, Brown fans, but what if Deshaun Watson never gets it back? What if he sucks this year? Like, would Browns fans be satisfied with an 8-9, 9-8, 500-ish season? Well, as long as the offense moves the ball, we'd be satisfied. Either way you have it, that major's dysfunction.
I feel like there's some omissions on this list. I feel like some teams are getting a pass because they've made moves that appear to be less dysfunctional. But let's face it, I still view the Jets as dysfunctional until we see them actually win something. And even if they do win something, you forget, oh, yeah, that's right, they're the Jets. Teams that have kind of come on as of late that are darlings in the offseason. Teams like Detroit, you forget, if it starts at the top, Detroit is dysfunctional. We have some news on Detroit later on. They surpassed they hit a milestone today that they haven't met since opening Ford Field. We'll explain.
The one team that I was wavering on, do I put them in, do I not? Arizona. Where
Totally.
I know, like you say,
Totally.
soft tank or open tank, and like
Totally.
what? Okay, like will Kyler Murray actually be the quarterback in 2024? I don't know what their plan is, but that owner, they've had a bunch of different plans and none of them work.
Yeah, I think that you could probably go 10 deep on this one. I would put the Cowboys on this list because dysfunction starts at the top and they haven't won anything. They're a competitive team. They're always going to draw eyeballs. But even Cowboy fans know Jerry's crazy, and because he keeps making decisions, that team can't get over.
The Cowboys are the Yankees of the NFL. I've said this. We make money. We're competitive.
That's all that matters.
We don't win. The Yankees haven't won since 2009. The last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl was over the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
You say that out loud, Cowboy fan.
Yeah. We've got a great 4 o'clock hour planned for you here. Now, earlier today, right after the rain stopped and right before the Bills hit the practice field, we heard from head coach Sean McDermott. And we wanted to replay this for you because today's a special day. Today, Buffalo Bills legendary Hall of Fame head coach Marv Levy turns 98. And head coach Sean McDermott today spent some time talking about the kind of mentor that Levy has been to him and how important he's been to him as a coach and as a man. So we wanted to pay tribute to Marv Levy by sharing Sean McDermott's words from earlier today in his press conference.
I love listening to Browning Taskers because they're telling their favorite Marv stories. Here's my favorite Marv story. So he had just graduated Harvard Law, and now he's going to take a job as the football coach, but he's got to tell his father. So he calls home, says, "Yeah, I'm going to be a football coach, Dad." And there is a long silence on the other end. And the old man on the other end says, "Be a good one."
Yeah.
And that was it.
That's great.
That's how he became a football coach.
Absolutely love it. And Marv being recognized during this weekend's Hall of Fame festivities in Canton. He is the oldest living member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Quite the achievement, quite the accomplishment. Can't wait to hear more Marv stories here over the course of the next couple of days. Hall of Fame game tonight as the Browns will play the home field there. They'll be considered the home team against the visiting New York Jets. And we'll be listening and watching just for the theme music, just to get that feel of football being back, even though the product tonight might not be that compelling.
Do they actually send Tirico out there, or are we getting baby Collinsworth?
I imagine we're getting Tirico. Yeah, I imagine we're getting
I
Tirico
hope
and Stark.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a big enough event that you would get Tirico and Collinsworth and Melissa Stark. So we'll be paying attention to that tonight as well and have more reaction to that tomorrow afternoon here in the Sports Bar. Also coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, man, we had a great conversation with Joe Marino, the host of the Locked On Bills podcast. Always love talking to Joe. This is the first time we actually get to talk to Joe in person. He spent a few days here at camp observing what's going on in the field. And Joe, he is not just locked on the Bills, but he knows his stuff when it comes to NFL draft prospects. A lot of these guys that are on this roster, younger players, Joe scouted coming out of college. And so we can get a more in-depth look at some of these camp battles that are happening right now, specifically middle linebacker. We can get into corner 2, discuss exactly what the Bills might be looking for and how they might actually play that corner 2 position over the course of a long season. So Joe Marino from the Locked On Bills podcast joined us earlier today. We'll get that conversation for you here on the air in about a half an hour or so. But next, it's head coach Sean McDermott from earlier today. If you missed his press conference, we'll have that sound for you next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia here live from St. John Fisher University, Buffalo Bills training camp on the Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for
W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Buffalo Bills have wrapped up practice for the week here at St. John Fisher. Tomorrow night, it's the Blue and the Red scrimmage at One Bills Drive. Head coach Sean McDermott giving us his thoughts on the middle linebacker position.
It's a matter of time. I don't really have a set date. We don't, and it's really just about, I think you'll know when you know, and you'd like it to be sooner than later for all these, decisions. But in fairness to the player in the process, just giving it time to play out.
We'll hear from the coach's press conference coming up next here in the Sports Bar. On the Major League scoreboard, one final where the Phillies doubling up the Marlins 4-2. Mets are trailing the Royals 6-0. They're in the 8th. Rangers up on the White Sox 4-3 in the 7th. Orioles have gone up on the Jays 2-0. They're in the 3rd. We're live from St. John Fisher University. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We want to wish a happy 98th birthday to one Marv Levy, the Hall of Fame coach of the Bills.
You feel like, you know some of the players that have been with us because I think that is important as part of the overall evaluation and say who can we count on, who are they, and how do they handle those moments, especially Friday night from time to time, and see, hey, how do they handle themselves?
Mike Danger.
Dinner Society? What goes on behind the scenes at the Buffalo Bills Dinner Society? I don't need to know about that. You're not invited.
Gene Battaglia.
Comparing major characters to their dog breed on the Buffalo Bills. That's right. Like, Josh Allen is a golden retriever. Said it multiple times. Yeah, like, oh my gosh. Diggs is, well, he said he's more like a house cat, but I thought he'd be more like a Rottweiler. French Bulldog for Deion Dawkins.
We have the NFL Hall of Fame game tonight in Canton, Ohio.
The Cubs haven't hit like this since 1897. The college football realignment.
Sucker!
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We're back live at St. John Fisher University Buffalo Bills training camp, the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Appreciate you checking us out on our video stream. You can find the Fan Rochester at YouTube, on Twitch as well. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. All of our guest appearances listed for you there. You can listen anytime, anywhere. If you were around earlier today, before practice, Sean McDermott spent some time with the media and really kind of opened up on a day that Marv Levy's celebrating his 98th birthday, as you heard there in the open. Wanted to share some of those comments from Sean McDermott's press conference. This was earlier today, pre-practice press conference from Bills head coach Sean McDermott here in the Sports Bar.
We'll go ahead and get started. Before I get started, I just want to wish Coach Levy a happy birthday. 98 years young this morning. Incredible. What a legend, right, in more ways than one. So my thoughts are with him and his family, and congratulations, and hopefully we'll see him soon.
I know you've had a great relationship with him. Can you take us into that a little bit and how that relationship has evolved since you've been here in Buffalo for several years?
Yeah, and he's all class, as everyone knows. I mean, I think that's a big piece of our relationship is he's been extremely friendly in his approach. And listen, when you're the winningest coach of the Buffalo Bills, and it doesn't always happen in every organization. Sometimes people don't really pull for the coaches that follow them, and he's done nothing but pull for us, pull for me, support me, and our staff, and what we're trying to get done here. So I couldn't be more grateful.
Sean, do you have 50 more years of life left?
I'd love to know. I would love to know, Sal. If you can, figure that one out, let me know.
I remember Marv always used to, when I first, back in the 90s, he would always be running after practice or whatever. And I know you try and keep yourself in shape too. So, hey, but I wanted to ask you, I guess Vic was telling me he's being recognized at the Hall of Fame this weekend as the oldest living Hall of Famer, I think, at 98. I'm kind of in line with that. I'd want a comment from you. What has he meant, with his Hall of Fame legacy among coaches? How is he, revered, I guess?
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. So, years ago at the Combine, I was speaking of jogging, I was on the treadmill in the weight room. One I think it was one morning or one afternoon, and this is when Marv had come back to the Bills in a different capacity. I believe he was the general manager, and of course I know him as coach, right? So I'm jogging on the treadmill, and who gets up on the elliptical next to me but Coach Levy. And for any coach, let alone a young coach at the time, and then someone who's shared our experience together at William & Mary in terms of, with Coach being there years before I was there, and then, I mean, just his persona, the legend, it precedes him. And so I never met him in person, but here he is. I'm thinking I'm jogging on the treadmill, and here's, the legend right beside me. It was kind of a surreal moment,
Share about how he would reach those. I mean, that was a cast of characters back then. It was but a lot of personalities in that room, and he would quote Churchill to him and everything, and do it. He was like the perfect guy to bring them all together. Do you ever talk about that and try and share some of his approach in your own way with these players?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always learning, right? I think that's an important mindset to have. Even as late as so Daryl and Steve were over there, and I was just talking with them about kind of how Marv did some things, and I gotta believe, having been around some of that core group when I first got here, and meeting with them and taking some notes on what it meant, and to play in Buffalo, and when this place was really going like it is now, and those early 90 days and years, I got to see firsthand some of the cast of characters and just listen to the stories, and then over here a few minutes ago, just asked those guys. I said, hey, because they were talking about how Coach did some things, and I said, I got to believe that he picked his battles in some instances there with those guys. When you're talking about having Jim and Daryl and I mean, he was the right coach for the right team, and he did things the right way, and he still does, and that's why I have so much respect for him. So yeah.
Who was faster?
I mean, listen.
Were you keeping an eye on the pace?
He was on the elliptical, and I was on the treadmill, so it wasn't really a fair race, maybe. But again, I was impressed just the type of shape and condition he was in, and that was probably. I mean, I've been here 7 years now. That was probably 10, 12 years ago. I've lost track of time. When he was back as the general manager. So. But when I got off, I shook his hand and said, Coach, I'm Sean McDermott, and we have something in common, having spent some time at William & Mary, both of us. And he was very gracious, very cordial, just like you'd expect. So.
Sean, can you give us an update on the injury, where Tim Settle's at, Jordan, and if anybody wants it?
Yeah, so Brian will not go. Thompson, I have a list. I didn't get it out. I was focused on Coach Levy here. Settle will give it a go today. We'll see how he makes it through. He's feeling better. Vaughn, obviously, Jordan will not. Tyler will not. Obviously, still all on PUP. Thompson will not. Still dealing with the concussion. Kyron Brown will give it a go. He'd been out with the groin, and then Isaiah Coulter will not. Still working through a knee here. So. Jordan was a rest day. I thought you referred to Jordan Phillips or Jordan Poyer. Yeah, just a rest day. He just had a little bit of a groin. Yeah.
Coach, do you anticipate at all maybe seeing Jordan Phillips or Tyler Medikevich, or is that something that will be determined as we go on here?
Yeah, as we go on. Yeah, I'm just really, that's not a day-to-day conversation. It's more of a every other day. Check in with Nate and give me an update, see where they're at and how they're doing.
Clarification: Poyer will practice today, or
he will.
Veteran?
Okay. He will. That was the other day. Jordan was out with the veteran rest day. Yeah.
Went into Tyrell working with the top team at the last practice. It kind of went Tyrell, Terrell, and then Balin. But it seemed like Tyrell skipped in that sort of rotation. So what was
really just trying to give reps. Balin's doing a good job, and I think just trying to see a little bit more of those two guys working one day at a time there.
John Butler the other day saying how he doesn't have a deadline for that CB2 spot and did mention it's a bit more of your decision. Do you have a deadline there, or is it kind of, he said it might be like throughout the season evaluation basically?
Yeah, we're using code words CB2, CB1, QB1. What's next? HC1, RB1. Yeah, it's like, hey, what's next, right? So CB2. You lost me a little bit there. So what?
Do you have a timeline
I was tied into this little acronym you're working with.
for CB2, do you have a deadline in place?
To Joe's question, I know you're going with it with the middle linebacker position. I think it's just it's a matter of time. I don't really have a set date. We don't, and it's really just about. I think you'll know when you know, and you'd like it to be sooner than later for all these decisions, but in fairness to the player in the process, just giving it time to play out. I mean, we're going to have a great opportunity to evaluate as coaches and Brandon with his staff come Friday night in the stadium with the crowd, which will be, putting guys in a position that they haven't been in some time or ever, especially for some of the new players. And that'll be a great opportunity for us to evaluate, but also for our team to grow, because there's going to be some mistakes because it gets stressful in some moments, and we do that intentionally. That stress needs to be handled the right way. That people look at stress as a bad thing, but stress can be used as an opportunity as well to grow.
Sean, and those mirror each other? Like the decision, not specifically those positions, but the decisions that you have to make. Do you want to have those kind of at one moment, like, okay, this is who we're rolling with? Or is it, okay, this one we know we can put a bow on, but this one we still need a little bit more time?
I mean, more like that. More like each, they're separate of one another. If it comes together at the same time, then it does. But, I think they're really separate of one another.
Hey, John, do you think, so far what you've seen, is Taylor Rep, can we call him maybe a Swiss Army knife type guy? It seems like you've got some plans that really might show off some of his versatility. Can you maybe discuss a little bit about that?
He does. He does a lot for us. Extremely smart football player. So I was walking up from working out this morning, ironically enough, and he was one of the players that was early to come down here, and it's every day. His work ethic, his habits, his DNA puts him in a position to be able to do more than one thing for us, and he's done a nice job to this point.
Sean, when you're dividing the reps for these position battles and evaluating guys, do you give more opportunities to the young guys who haven't been in those positions because you haven't seen as much, where Tyrell's been in the system and got starts at the middle, Dane's obviously had the job, and even Ryan Bates at right guard? Do you purposely, as maybe part of that plan you spoke of, give those other guys more opportunities because you just need to see more of them?
Right. No, like that starts in spring. You feel like, you know some of the players that have been with us. In fairness to that position, we do know a little bit of T-Dot, right? But not enough to make a decision by this point, one way or the other, because he hasn't been in that starting role for an extended period of time. So, but in a case like, a veteran player that's been here a while, Deion Dawkins, we feel like we know who Deion is, how he's going to perform in all situations. And so you get a younger player in there, maybe with the ones, especially Friday night from time to time, and see, hey, how do they handle themselves in that type of environment, playing alongside of Josh Allen. And that's just an example of one position, because I think that is important as part of the overall evaluation, and say, who can we count on, who are they, and how do they handle those moments. And again, it'll be an opportunity for them to grow.
Understanding that he's taking it one day at a time with DeMar, just what 2 days have passed now done, what have you seen from him and his progress?
Yeah, extremely courageous. Great to see him have that interception the other day. I wish I was here to listen to. Hopefully the crowd appreciated that as well. And every day he continues to amaze us.
Because Ryan Bates is so flexible, what does that do for the evaluation of being able to maybe put Osiris in a little bit to at guard? I don't know. Obviously flexibility is great, and you want to have that. I know you also want to have a starting position maybe if you're Ryan, but it also gives you a little more options. Wouldn't that be right?
Right. And Ryan, when he first came to us, was used in that capacity of he was basically a backup, first guy in. He was the sixth offensive lineman, So, it helps you play a long time in the league, right? Position flexibility, and the more you can do. So, but any player wants to be the starter and wants to kind of hone in on one position. So, I think that's important that one knows their job, but also has an ability to bounce, around. And Coach Cromer does a great job of cross-training those guys quite frequently up front.
With Dorian Williams, are you at this point in camp focusing on him more on the middle or the outside? And what type of progress have you seen from him in whichever starting?
Yeah, he's been outside only, and he's done a really good job. Really, when you look back at the spring, we started him inside just to see where he was and whatnot, and so then we moved him over towards the end of the spring, maybe the last day or two, so he could get a jump start on it, and he's done a really good job to this point.
You're a weekend now turning the page forward a week. What do you need to see in this next week compared to what you saw in the first week?
Yeah, I think, again, Friday night will be the start of really the next week of ratcheting things up from an evaluation standpoint, where you're starting to see players in game situations in front of a crowd. Like I said, some playing with the ones that don't normally play with alongside the ones. And then we're, a week out basically, I think it's next Saturday, to the first preseason game. So the players know that, especially the older players. The younger players maybe more just dialed in on this practice. But it's all about those mile markers along the way here to making sure we're staying on schedule at the right time.
I know preparation is, you're all about that, whether it's scheme or even logistics. I think we've talked about in the past, you use preseason games as a model for what a regular season game day is. Do you do any of that with regard to the practice, kind of a behind-the-scenes approach to tomorrow night?
Yeah, definitely, and that's part of the reason why we do it, is to get the players down there as well. And some of these players have not been in our home locker room, don't know our operation the morning of a game type of situation, and have never kind of gone through that routine. So it gives them a chance to get in the home locker room. They'll dress over there, and then go through it and just get a feel for where the training room is in there and the tubs and everything that they use. I think that's important. We used to do that with Andy, and I thought that was a great model to kind of start the ball rolling towards that first preseason game and get guys, even the older guys who have been with us, it just gets them back in that headspace again.
Obviously, a lot of it is evaluating players. That's stuff you just talked about letting that number run through. But for you, is there anything you want to self-evaluate as you have that first chance in a scrimmage to do the defensive play calling? What are you looking for out of yourself tomorrow?
Yeah, there'll be opportunities for that. We're going to try and run it as much like our practice out here as we have been, and so there'll be times when I'm the head coach. There'll be times where you see out here where I'm on the side with the defense, and Coach Smiley and Matt are out and around the team and managing the operation there. We're going to send our coaches upstairs. Another thing we're going to do is send our coaches who are going to be in the press box. We're going to send them up to the press box, and they're going to get a good feel for that and how that works and some of the communication. And I think that's all part of the preseason experience.
John Butler said the other day that you asked Aaron sometimes to cover Travis Kelce and tackle Derrick Henry, like he's a unique guy for you. How different is that?
That guy's a unique guy also. The guy walking by.
How unique is that for any defense to have a guy in his position that is so versatile and does so much?
Yeah, he does a phenomenal job. You think about what he's asked to do. You think about where he was when he first came to us from Weber State, and the guys give him a hard time all the time about coming from that small school, and he's just done a phenomenal job of building himself into a player that can do all of that. And obviously, the coaches have done a great job with him. So he's a valuable part of our defense. Thanks, guys.
There he is, Sean McDermott, earlier today, pre-practice press conference here from St. John Fisher University as the Sports Bar with Danger Battaglia continue live from Buffalo Bills training camp.
It's funny how, we talk about things so much that we come to conclusions almost at the same time. I remember through the draft process where we're talking about the positions, this, that, and I really think they're going to go tight end. And that happened. And when we're talking about the corner 2 battle, I think we came to the conclusion this week, there isn't going to be a winner.
Yeah. I
could very well easily see them doing the same thing. And now I have this light bulb going off in my head, are they going to do the same thing, rotating at the right guard? Because you're hearing Sean McDermott praise the flexibility of Ryan Bates. And I don't know if you want to have O'Cyrus Torrance go full bore starting week 1 and taking all the reps there, but I could see a rotation very easily, and you're kind of pacing Torrance, for what is going to be a long season, something he's never experienced before, and just the versatility of having Ryan Bates that he's that break glass in case of emergency when it comes to the center position.
Interesting, yeah, and I think our next guest can kind of shed a little bit more light on that, dive a little bit deeper into the position battles that are happening right now at camp, whether we're talking about right guard, corner 2, or middle linebacker. We love catching up with Joe Marino, the host of the Locked On Bills podcast, and boy, Joe scouted these guys coming out of college as well, so he knows a little bit about each one of these players that are engulfed in this competition for their positional their positional battles here at camp. So Joe Marino will be joining us next. He was kind enough to give us some time earlier this morning, and you'll hear that here on the way. In the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia continuing live from St. John Fisher for Buffalo Bills training camp on the Fan Rochester.
It happens just once a year. It's the annual Jacuzzi Truckload Sale at the Ace Swim and Leisure Chilai Avenue store location. This week, only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the lowest prices of the year on the only original jacuzzi brand. We're talking spas, we're talking swim spas, we're talking huge savings and special financing available. 3313 Chilai Avenue. You're going to find a parking lot full of savings. The trucks are here now, but it'll be gone by Sunday night. It's Ace Swim and Leisure.
Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills have wrapped up practice for the week here at St. John Fisher. Tomorrow night's the Blue and the Red scrimmage at One Bills Drive, something that quarterback Josh Allen is ready for.
It's very cool for our new guys, rookies included, to see our fans in our stadium and to feel the energy in there. And Bills Mafia, I know they're salivating to get back in that stadium, but it does feel good to be in your home stadium and playing some football.
We'll be joined by Joe Marino, the host of the Locked On Bills podcast. That's coming up next here in the Sports Bar. Pittsford's Danny Mendick got on the mound today for the New York Mets. That's not a good thing. He's a position player. The Royals over the Mets 9-2. The Phillies over the Marlins 4-2. Elsewhere on the Major League scoreboard, Orioles leading the Jays 2-0 there in the top of the fifth. Rangers up on the White Sox 5-3 at the end of the eighth. Red Wings tonight playing at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. We're live from St. John Fisher University. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia live from St. John Fisher University. It is Buffalo Bills training camp, and one of our favorites joining us to talk Buffalo Bills, the host of the Locked On Bills podcast that you can hear inside the free-to-download Odyssey app, the great Joe Marino, making a visit into the Sports Bar in person. Joe, it's good to finally meet you in person. Welcome to training camp.
Yeah, it's been awesome being on the radio with you guys throughout the years, and to meet you guys in person, be down here, really cool. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Joe, you've been in town this week, so just ask you the open-ended question, like your impressions here, what you've seen so far from the Buffalo Bills.
I've enjoyed it. It's been really competitive. I think that's probably the big word that stood out. There's an intensity about this football team that you can feel. I was here last year for a good amount of camp, and even comparing year over year, this seems like a football team on a mission, very competitive, very structured. They're getting after it. There's a lot of energy out there on the field. There's a lot of talent. Still some questions on this roster, but I feel like it's coming together well, and this football team's primed to try to maximize on this opportunity.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that competition that's happening right now and start the middle linebacker. We've talked to a lot of people about this competition, knowing the tendencies of Sean McDermott, the idea that he likes to give veteran guys first crack at things. There's a trust that goes into that as well. But you do have a guy that you invested a third-round pick in Terrell Bernard that's waiting for that middle linebacker position. Also, Balin Spector, the late-round pick from last year, showing up and getting some first-team reps through the course of training camp as well. Evaluate these three for me. Joe, who do you think has the inside track, and how do you think this plays out here once the preseason starts?
I feel like Tyrell Dotson's got a real shot at this thing. And like you mentioned there, Sean McDermott loves to lean into familiarity. And Tyrell Dotson's been around for the longest. He's been here since 2019, and a guy that they've even kind of stuck with him through some adversity that he's faced. And I think that says a lot. And just the time on task, right? There's a McDermott word for you. And he's got that over these other guys. And I feel like, even in talking to Tyrell Dotson in the past, you kind of feel like he's been waiting for this opportunity, and he's gotten those chances so far in camp. And, we know that the big piece of this is not just how they perform and execute, but the communication aspect. And as Sean McDermott takes over this defense as the play caller, as a coordinator, him leaning into a guy that he has the most time with, you could see being a likely outcome. But like you mentioned, Terrell Bernard, also a recent third-round pick and very athletic, and I think that's where he has a strong case. From an athleticism perspective, he's got a lot more than Dotson. And we've listened to, whether it's been Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, Bobby Babich, the linebackers coach this offseason, talk about how it would be good to have two matchup linebackers and using that athleticism. You heard Brandon Beane very candid on the Chris Long podcast talking about, hey, we love Tremaine Edmonds, but he kind of had a gangly frame, and that had some matchup challenges against some of these slot receivers, and asking him to carry them in turn was tough because he's big and gangly. And you could see Terrell Bernard in a lot of ways being the opposite of that. And we know that McDermott values relationships, and we've heard him talk about his relationship with Dave Aranda, who was the head coach at Baylor when Terrell Bernard was there. And so, maybe that gives him a strong case. And then there's always that other guy, and that other guy right now feels like Balin Spector. And the 7th-round pick, a guy that's going to be high character, a lot of energy. You go to his story, he's got a master's degree in athletic leadership from Clemson. McDermott loves that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You've seen McDermott in the past use these linebackers that he's gotten late in drafts, like an A.J. Klein. And, today's version of A.J. Klein, different than 10 years ago, and he was a 5th-round pick out of Iowa State that wound up becoming a starter. So I think they've all got a path. I think they're sorting it through. It's about execution and how they play, but the communication piece is going to be a big part of what's ultimately going to decide this competition.
Yeah, if we can kind of dive into that. Joe Marino, our guest from the Locked On Bills podcast, because, all right, so the coach can tell things to the middle linebacker, but in this Buffalo Bills defense, like with Edmonds before, say, what was he responsible for pre-snap? In other words, are there adjustments? What exactly goes into the communication part of it?
Well, starts with the play call, right? So until 15 seconds left on the play clock, the coach has that direct line to the green dot player, which is traditionally your middle linebacker. Now, that's shifting a little bit. We had 3 teams in 2021 that used a non-middle linebacker as their green dot player. That jumped up to 6 last year. So this is like a little bit of a trend, and we've heard Sean McDermott say, hey, look, we prefer our middle linebacker to be the guy with the green dot, but we're going to do whatever's best for the football team. And so I think that they're experimenting and seeing if one of these guys can do that. But maybe there is a path for a Jordan Poyer or a Micah Hyde to wind up having that green dot. But to kind of get back to what the question is about what they're responsible from a communication standpoint, yes, step one is here's the play call, telling the other 10 players in the field what the play call is. But then the play call is one thing, and then there's the alignment. Okay, how do they set up? Do you get a 3-by-1, a 2-by-2? Where's the run strength? And from that, you have checks, right? You have things, you have indicators that are supposed to trigger to you that you need to adjust the front. Okay, they have an unbalanced situation here with an extra tight end, and there's more gaps, and so we got to shift our defensive line. That player has to do that, and if you're not lined up correctly, your run fits are going to be off, and you're going to get gashed. Same thing with the secondary component of it, the back seven, your coverage concept. How do they line up? What indicators exist based on your study throughout the week? The analytics, what do they tell you? Okay, when they're in this look, this is the tendencies of that situation. Okay, well, this is what they're going to do. We got to move the safety over a little bit. We got to roll coverage towards whatever good receiver they have. So that communication point is huge. We heard Micah Hyde say recently in a press conference, if that guy's wrong, we're all wrong. And so that we're going to talk a lot about what the skill sets are, but that piece is so critical. And what's challenging from our perspective is we don't know.
You're right.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And so we're going to all have our opinions about who should get this job. But if that's the most important piece and we don't have the information, it's going to be really hard for us to really pick apart all the layers to this and figure out who this starter should be.
All right, so let's talk about what we do see. Let's talk about the physicality of these 3 players. They all have a different skill set. You mentioned the athleticism of Bernard. I think that Spector kind of looks the part from his physical makeup. But what's your breakdown of these 3 individuals in their physical makeup?
I think the best combination of size and athleticism is Balin Spector. It's not particularly close. He's the one that's 6 foot, 230-something pounds, that has an RAS score, which is a relative athleticism score. It's a 10 is a perfect score. He's got like a 9.1. He's extremely athletic. So size and athleticism, that's Balin Spector all the way. Now, just athleticism, it's Bernard, but he's a little lean, right? He's not the guy that you love as a downhill player, right? And that's the challenge. You need the guy that can play in space and cover and get depth and carry tight ends. You also got to have the guy that can go downhill and take on a pulling guard and push them back in their gap, shed a block, and make a tackle, right? There's a lot there, and Bernard's the guy that's the most lean. Now, Dotson is probably the most effective downhill player, the most burly build, the guy that can really take on contact, but he's probably the most limited athletically, and so you have the challenges with what he's going to do in space and in coverage. So the best combination of size and athleticism in this group is Balin Spector.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast, our guest. Last week we had the opportunity to talk to Taron Johnson. I would think that that's a fun position to play where you could be linebacker, you could be covering somebody in the slot, you can be dropping back and could do any number of things. How important is the nickel back in this defense, Joe?
Huge. He's a starter. It's a starting position, right? There's a stigma from 10 years ago, oh, he's a slot corner. No, this is a 100% of the snap player. And like you mentioned the word fun, it probably is fun to play both corner and linebacker, but that's also probably pretty hard, right? On one play, you're having to match steps with a jitterbug in the slot, right? Guy that is twitchy, can run routes, you got to stay in phase, and then you also got to fit the run. You know, there's a lot. I mean, and for Taron Johnson, just an absolute unsung hero for this defense and what he's able to do. Because he exists, the Bills can play with more lighter personnel, but still be effective with how they fit the run. Taron Johnson's a glue piece for the defense.
Joe, when we look at corner 2, I think we all want to see clarity. We want to see somebody kind of elevate and cement their role opposite Trey White. But history has shown that that's not necessarily what Sean McDermott does in this defense either. So what's your projection for how this all plays out? Because we've seen great plays from Benford. Kyrie Elam is battling in practice as well. We love Dane Jackson, right? We love us some Dane Jackson. He's been here. So how does this all play out opposite Trey White for this defense?
It's tough to predict. I mean, you definitely have a three-way competition between these guys, a lot of opportunity for all of them to run with the first team. And I understand there's a lot of frustrations. Kyrie Elam's a first-round pick. You traded up to get him, and you certainly didn't do that because you didn't think he could beat out a sixth-rounder in Benford from Villanova and a seventh-rounder from a few years ago. But that's the reality, and I don't know that that's so much an issue with Kyrie Elam as it is you've got two other guys that are worthy. And so as frustrating as it might be for Bills fans to think, wow, the first-rounder can't win this out, you should also really be happy that competitions are existing and that if you are a sixth or a seventh-round pick and you perform, that you do have those opportunities to have a starting job. But the reality is we're all wanting to know, how does this end? I think there's a good chance that this is a platoon situation. You know, we saw it with Levi Wallace and Josh Norman.
Yeah.
Levi Wallace and Kevin Johnson. How about last year?
Yes.
I mean, we've seen literally 3 of the last 5-6 years a legitimate rotation opposite of Tre'Davious White. I could see that happening again this year and it being very game plan specific, given those 3 guys have very different skill sets.
Joe Marino, the Locked On Bills podcast, switching to the other side of the ball, and the one player that has a lot of Bills fans excited is Dalton Kincaid. And everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but most players look great this time of year, and it's a season of optimism. But, Joe, is there something real here? I really want to see it when the Bills take on the Colts and see how does it look against another opponent. But from what you've seen so far, what should be the level of optimism with Dalton Kincaid?
I think there's a lot to be excited about with Dalton Kincaid. Very smooth, very natural. And he's had less than 7 or 8 practices in the NFL under his belt. And I think what's meaningful to me there is that you can often look at a rookie, especially a tight end. Tight ends are typically slow developing, right? You have to be an offensive lineman and a receiver. It's a lot. It doesn't look like he's drinking from a fire hose out there, right? Nothing looks too big for him. He just seems like he's one of the guys. You watch this team practice, and it's pretty clear 4, 13, 14, 86, and 88. Those are the guys. That's the offense. And it's impressive that he blends right in with those players, especially considering he's the youngest one. And he's young to football, right? I mean, didn't even really start playing until late in high school.
Right.
Goes to San Diego, goes to Utah. His maturity at this point, the confidence, how natural it looks at this point is where I get a lot of confidence in Dalton Kincaid being able to step into this football team and be a meaningful weapon pretty soon.
Well, in his second year, James Cook out of the backfield, I think there's a lot of excitement around what he could bring to the table. We wanted, I think, to see more of what we knew he did at Georgia last season. He's a rookie, but we're seeing it at practice where he's catching balls out of the backfield. He's flashing some speed. What's your projection this year for James Cook and how the Bills might utilize him more so in this offense now?
I think he's going to be the lead back, but what's interesting about that is lead back means something different for the Bills as it does other teams, right? You talk about Josh Jacobs or Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, you're talking 300 touches. In Bills' world of lead back, you're probably talking about 175 to 215, something in that range. And what's interesting about James Cook is he's never been that. He's always been very dynamic. You love the skill set. But has he ever really commanded a ton of volume? Not really, right? Even going back to his time at Georgia, he had 2 or 3 good backs all the time. And so how do they approach the uptick, right? Are they willing to go from a guy that's really maxed out around 140 touches to now 225? And I think the Bills are going to be very deliberate with their approach there. And they've got other good backs in Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. So through the lens of Bills terms, I do think he'll be the lead back. But I get really interested in kind of seeing what this all looks like at the end of the year and how much they're really willing to ramp him up as their feature back in terms of volume. I think he'd be the lead back, but how much is really where I get interested. You're seeing a lot of comfort, though. He's catching the football a ton on the backfield and the practices that we're seeing, and obviously he's an explosive runner. And in a situation where they're not tackling guys, this guy looks like he's $1 million out there.
Yeah, Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast, where the middle linebacker is fun to talk about, corner 2 is fun to talk about, wide receiver battle. We can't overlook the offensive line, Joe. What are you seeing right now out of the 2 guards, the 2 battles here? And Osiris Torrance, how do you see the Bills working him in? Opportunity to start week 1, or might it be better to avoid a rookie wall here to give him the opportunity later in the season?
It's going to be interesting. And McDermott believes in that rookie wall. He's talked about it, and he's been very deliberate with how he's managed rookies because of that. I thought this was really going to be a Ryan Bates situation, and that Osiris Torrance would kind of have to wait his turn. It looks like he's getting a real shot. I mean, you're watching practice, and they're getting equal reps in terms of first team, and there's certain moments in practice where he's the first guard in that session, Osiris Torrance, and other times where it's Ryan Bates. I think it's legitimately a competition. Will they rotate there? We saw it happen with Cody Ford and Ty Nsekhe, right? That's not crazy. That's existed, and that maybe that's part of their plan. Maybe it's going to be a little bit of Ryan Bates and Osiris Torrance both getting their chances, and if it's a run-heavy game plan, maybe you lean a little bit more into Osiris Torrance. He's the big, mauler in the run game, and you lean into that. But I think the most encouraging thing about watching Torrance out here has been that I didn't feel like there was a drop-off, right? I didn't feel like that there was a guy that stepped in there and all of a sudden the offensive line couldn't function. On the other side, Connor McGovern, the big-ticket free agent this year, right? That's the most money they gave to a free agent was Connor McGovern, over $7 million a year. They did that because they want him to be their left guard. And I think he's been up and down. I think Ed Oliver's given him a lot of trouble. And what's interesting is you kind of felt like Connor McGovern athletically in his resume, the pass protection's been the real strength there. And I don't know that through what I've seen, I've felt real comfortable. A lot of time left, right? You talk about offensive line. It's 5 guys working together as one. It's the sum of the entire parts. And you're talking about 6-7 practices at this point as a unit. They've got 40-something days until they play the Jets. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of growth with how they attack things, but I am looking for a little bit more out of Connor McGovern here as I continue to watch camp.
Well, how much of a value do you put on continuity there on the offensive line? Huge. You mentioned the platoon. I think it is huge. And so, I guess my question is Ryan Bates' strength, his biggest strength, just his versatility and the fact that you can have him on the sideline ready to go in a pinch if somebody goes down, if you need a center, he could be that guy. I mean, are you better suited starting with Torrance day one just to get that continuity?
I think that's a huge, compelling argument to make for Torrance, is that Ryan Bates can be your first player in at all 5 spots. And we've seen in the past situations where somebody goes down and you're switching 2-3 spots. I mean, we've seen Mitch Morse go down, which forces Ryan Bates at right guard to go to center. You bring in a new right guard. You're switching spots all over the place. It's been even more drastic at times when Darrell Williams would go from right tackle to right guard. That's tough. And that makes it hard to do the thing that we started this conversation with about the offensive line is it's 5 guys working together as one. Reps, time on task, knowing each other. You got to work together, right? You got to scoop and combo up to the second level. The more you've done those things with the people you're with, the better you're going to be. You're dealing with pressure schemes that are coming at you, and the communication component and feeling the players around you is going to lead to you being more successful. So, there's a lot of benefits to continuity. And on one hand, you're not having continuity because you're going to start somebody else, but to know that you can have a 5-hole backup in one player, that's huge.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast. Last one for me, Joe, and it's about the most important player on this team. Josh Allen has the ability to be an MVP in this league, and if that happens, well, then who knows how far the Bills can go this year. What is it in Josh's game do you think he needs to improve on in order to get to that level?
That's a good question. And how about this real quick? We're living in a world where your last question is about the quarterback.
Yeah. Right. If there's been times where okay.
That's all we talked about was the quarterback. Yeah. So that's a good thing. I think for Josh Allen, I think it's efficiency. That's the word I keep coming back from. His splits when he throws the ball quick, under 2.5 seconds, shorter throws, it's not good enough. It's something that he needs to be more effective with. And I think if he can become more efficient, more effective with the short passing game, the quick passing game, that is going to open up everything for this offense. We know he wants to go down the field and make the big plays and challenge teams vertically. But you want to make that easier on yourself? Make them have to come up and tackle and lean into yards after catch. And when Ken Dorsey gives you the easy button, take it. And I think that's the big thing, efficiency with how he attacks the entire football field. I think that's going to unlock this offense.
And, Joe, you watch a lot of film. You watch this team under the jeweler's eye. I've been saying all offseason, I don't think Ken Dorsey's bad at his job. I think Ken Dorsey's pretty good at his job. For him being a first-year play caller, first-year coordinator last year, offense was pretty good. What do you think? What do you think? What is your projection for Dorsey here in year 2? And do you think Josh actually has that communication with Dorsey where you can see him check down, take that easy route more often than not?
One thing I'll say about Ken Dorsey, well, first of all, the guy, however you want to measure offense, whatever statistic you want to put out there, the Bills were like at the top of the league.
Yes.
And everyone's going to say, well, Josh Allen's just a special quarterback, and he's able to erase this failure as a coordinator in Ken Dorsey, who just coordinated a top 3 offense in his first year. One thing we don't talk enough about with Ken Dorsey is the challenges of being a first-year offensive coordinator, but also what he went through. He didn't plan on Roger Saffold being a disaster at left guard. He didn't plan on Spencer Brown not taking a big step in year 2. Zach Moss not working out as the RB2. Not having O.J. Howard be the tight end 2 and having the 12 personnel at your disposal. Not replacing Cole Beasley and relying on Isaiah McKenzie to be a full-time slot guy after Jamison Crowder gets injured and Jay Coomer goes down. There was a lot that he had to deal with as a first-year coordinator. And I don't think that there's enough grace given to him, to be quite honest with you. He's the guy that Josh Allen wanted to be the coordinator.
That's right.
And I think the biggest thing is the transition from Brian Daboll to Ken Dorsey. Not that they're different people, but Brian Daboll worked with Josh Allen from his rookie season. They grew together, right? And I'm sure that there's a lot of ways that Brian Daboll felt very comfortable communicating with Josh Allen that maybe Ken Dorsey in year 1, despite having the relationship, it wasn't as easy for him. But you heard Josh talk about him taking more ownership in the offense, being more deliberate with communicating with Dorsey about, hey, this is the stuff I like to do. These are the concepts that work for me. And now it's time for that to kind of come together, put all the pieces together, and let this offense take a big step in year 2 under Dorsey. And we just talked about year 1, it was at the top of the league. So what does a step look like? I'm excited to find out.
Inside the Odyssey app, it's absolutely free. The Locked On Bills podcast. Tell us what you got coming up. You're heading to Buffalo tomorrow night, too.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the scrimmage on Friday night. Looking forward to that. Locked On Bills is a daily podcast on the Buffalo Bills. If you want to follow this team 365 days a year, it's what we do. And so appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Free and available on all platforms, the Odyssey app, YouTube. It's awesome. Thank you.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast, joining us here live from St. John Fisher University for Buffalo Bills training camp. Joe, enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks a lot, guys.
There he is from earlier today, Joe Marino. Well, there was still rain coming down here at St. John Fisher College, spending some time with us here in the sports bar and giving us his outlook on the Buffalo Bills in 2023 and his thoughts on training camp up to this point.
Yeah, I'm going to steal your line. Rain this morning. We've had 3 seasons here at St. John Fisher already.
Yeah, over the course of the last couple of weeks, 3 seasons. We had a little bit of spring, we had a little bit of fall, and we certainly had a little bit of summer last week around this time as well. But appreciate Joe showing up early for us and weathering or braving the elements and weathering the storm to give us a good 20 minutes or so there, breaking down everything, the camp battles. And one of the things that Joe mentioned, I mean, there's so much there that we can unpack, but I love the idea that unless you see somebody really truly emerge to be that second corner, that there's a very real likelihood that you could see a platoon like we've seen in years past with Sean McDermott defenses, where based on matchup you see more Kyrie Elam or more Dane Jackson, certainly more Christian Benford as well. Just one of the many things that we kind of went into there with Joe.
I thought it was interesting, something I did not know. There were 6 teams last year where the defensive play caller that wears the dot was not the middle linebacker.
Right.
And I guess that kind of begs the question, would the Bills consider something like that? And here's a couple of reasons why I would say no. Number one, Sean McDermott, his defense, you got to think of when he was in his heyday going to the Super Bowl Carolina, the middle linebacker can kind of see things, make those adjustments, perfect world, getting the front 7 set. And then, all right, well, if you're going to go some other position, why not the safeties? You don't have to worry about Poyer and Hyde. You don't have to communicate to them. They're so sharp. They know this defense inside and out. They can help, if there's a young corner or, say, somebody else is in place of Taron Johnson. And I think the Taron Johnson conversation is a fun one, too. I mean, can you imagine just being in that position, having that kind of assignment? Like one time I'm going to, kind of make sure I'm, coming down as a linebacker and picking up this running back, or I've got to drop back and get against a speedy receiver. So there's a lot to this Bills defense. If you love football, it's certainly worth diving into.
All right, so today from practice, quickly here, before we get to happy hour and our conversation with Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones, we heard earlier today from Sean McDermott, who was asked about that corner 2 position, about the middle linebacker position battle, right guard. McDermott kind of clarifying that he doesn't have a set date for any of these positions. He'll just kind of know when he knows.
It sounds like you're dating somebody. Like, well, when you know, you know.
That's
you
right.
know, like,
yeah,
all right.
and so that was kind of one of the takeaways from his press conference earlier today. It was a good day for Dane Jackson and Kyrie Elam playing opposite Trey White, with each of them pulling down an interception during 11-on-11 drills this morning. We got to see a little bit more of Andy Isabella's playmaking ability. He's been making plays and some splash plays from time to time in practice, albeit with some of the second and third teams. Puna Ford out there with against Osiris Torrance. We mentioned Osiris Torrance in our conversation there with Joe, somebody that could start the season as your right guard if you believe that the best strength of Ryan Bates is his versatility and his availability to be that first guy up. And what to make of the middle linebacker competition, Gino? That you had Balin Spector getting reps both at middle linebacker and at weak side. It sounds like they're kind of experimenting with what he's capable of doing. You've seen Dorian Williams, the rookie 3rd-round pick, playing exclusively on the weak side behind Matt Milano. Terrell Bernard, Tyrell Dotson also seeing reps with both the first and second teams at middle linebacker in today's practice. We also saw the return today of Tim Settle, and at the very end of practice, it was right tackle Spencer Brown kind of gingerly walking over to the sideline, meeting with a couple of trainers and walking off the field together. But while the rest of the team finished their post-practice stretching routine, now we know that there's a history of a back issue with Spencer Brown. I'm not sure if this puts his participation in tomorrow night's scrimmage in jeopardy or not, but our friend Alex Brasky did report that Spencer Brown was spotted on his motorized scooter there, heading to the lunch hall.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to have, there's only 3 practices that are open Sunday, and then you have Monday's closed to the public, Wednesday and Thursday. If you have tickets to those practices and you're taking the shuttle back, just keep your eyes open there, because you're going to see Bills players. It started out with a few, and you ran into Deion Dawkins yesterday in his cycle.
Yeah,
and they have fun. I mean, college campuses, when nobody's here, it's a playground for these guys.
Now tomorrow, as I mentioned, back to Orchard Park. It's the annual return of the red and the blue. That practice is open at 5:30 tomorrow afternoon from Highmark Stadium before the team returns to St. John Fisher again for that practice you mentioned on Sunday. All right, happy hour is next in the sports bar. We want to get you caught up on our conversation with Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones, who gave us some of his time earlier today, right after practice. We had the chance to talk to Daquan, and we'll hear that conversation next in the sports bar as we continue live from Buffalo Bills training camp at St. John Fisher University here on the Fan Rochester.
It happens just once a year. It's the annual Jacuzzi Truckload Sale at the Ace Swim and Leisure Chilai Avenue store location. This week, only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The lowest prices of the year on the only original jacuzzi brand. We're talking spas. We're talking swim spas. We're talking huge savings and special financing available. 3313 Chilai Avenue. You're going to find a parking lot full of savings. The trucks are here now, but it'll be gone by Sunday night. It's Ace Swim and Leisure.
HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills have wrapped up practice for the week here at St. John Fisher University. Tomorrow night, it's the blue and the red scrimmage at One Bills Drive. Head coach Sean McDermott giving us his thoughts on the middle linebacker position.
It's a matter of time. I don't really have a set date. We don't, and it's really just about, I think you'll know when you know, and you'd like it to be sooner than later for all these, decisions. But in fairness to the player in the process, just giving it time to play out.
Defensive tackle Daquan Jones joining us next here in the Sports Bar. On the Major League scoreboard, Orioles are leading the Blue Jays 3-0. They're in the bottom of the sixth. Pittsburgh's Danny Mendick got on the mound today for the Mets. It's not a good thing. He's a position player. The Royals over the Mets 9-2. Yankees are home tonight against the Astros. We're live from St. John Fisher University. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We want to wish a happy 98th birthday to one Marv Levy, the Hall of Fame coach of the Bills.
You feel like, you know some of the players that have been with us because I think that is important as part of the overall evaluation and say who can we count on, who are they, and how do they handle those moments, especially Friday night from time to time, and see, hey, how do they handle themselves?
Mike Danger.
Dinner Society? What goes on behind the scenes at the Buffalo Bills Dinner Society? I don't need to know about that.
You're not invited.
Gene Battaglia.
Comparing major characters to their dog breed on the Buffalo Bills.
That's right.
Like, Josh Allen is a golden retriever. Said it multiple times.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh.
Diggs is, well, he said he's more like a house cat, but I thought he'd be more like a Rottweiler. French Bulldog for Deion Dawkins.
We have the NFL Hall of Fame game tonight in Canton, Ohio.
The Cubs haven't hit like this since 1897. The college football realignment.
Sucker!
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back to Buffalo Bills Training Camp Live. It is St. John Fisher University, the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester, fresh from the practice field. We welcome in Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones. How are you today, bud?
Good, man. How are you?
Great. We had this whole thing planned out today. So you're from Johnson City. Yep. Our engineer, Derek, now played at Corning East for 4 years. Okay. And we were hoping that there was video somewhere of you pancaking him or something like that. But what is it like when, for an NFL athlete, when you go back home, and it's close by, but being a role model, showing other kids that, hey, you can make it too here?
Yeah, I think it's very important to go home to your roots and kind of show people that, no matter what the situation is or whatever environment you grew up in, you can make it out if you have the right mindset. And I love to go home and be able to talk to people like that and kind of just keep encouraging them and let them know that, the sky's the limit and you can do anything you put your mind to. So I love going home and doing that for sure.
No, Daquan, I'm going to choose to believe that he's not here because he heard you were going to be on set and he ran away out of fear. He wanted nothing to do with your business, having his experience with you back playing in high school. Does Rochester feel kind of like home to you being from the area?
Yeah, very, very similar. Historical buildings, it all looks the same to me, even in Buffalo. Buffalo's a little bigger, Rochester's bigger, but I get the same hometown feel. I'm in both of them, so it does feel like home for me.
Yeah, our guest, Daquan Jones, Buffalo Bills tackle. We saw Eric Washington running the practice yesterday. Give us some insight as to what Coach is like there.
He's a straight, old school military mindset, very direct, but at the same time, he does a heck of a job of coaching his players and coaching our room and make sure, teaching the man and the player will follow. It's one of his biggest philosophies, and I love that about him. So he's going to, coach you in everyday life. At the same time, he's going to translate to the field. And I think that's why he got the attention of the respect of the group so much.
Daquan Jones joining us here in the sports bar. Daquan, one of the changes from last year to this year, soft-spoken Leslie Frazier, defensive coordinator last year. Yeah. This year, it's Sean McDermott. Yeah. I'm curious what the differences are. Is there a different level of intensity with McDermott now calling the plays?
He's out there cracking jokes with guys and walkthrough and stuff like that. He's kind of just more in the mix of it all. It's a little different, but at the same time, we all know it's going to be a little different because having someone new calling the plays. But he's doing a heck of a job, man. And, I love the fact that he goes out there and he goes in the meeting room. He's teaching everyone the game of football, and
explaining why we're doing some things, certain situations. I think it's going to help the young guys really understand and grasp why we do certain things and not just go out there and do it. So I love that aspect of it.
You were on some good lines in Tennessee, spent the 1 year in Carolina, and now it's a team this year. You had Leonard Floyd. You had Poona Ford. Is this the deepest unit you've worked with?
Yeah. I mean, I would say so confidently that you know, at all levels, first, second, third, whatever, the whole group, I mean, there's talent everywhere. You know what I mean? And, it just makes you want to go out there every day and put the pedal to the metal and grind because, you know, the bark on your heels. But you want that, though, because all it's going to do is raise their intensity in the drive with the group. And but, you know, going out there and seeing everyone out there just flying around making plays, man, you just love to see it. So definitely the deepest group I've had.
Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones joining us in the sports bar. We are
Penn State.
Yeah. Just making sure, because we saw Terry Pagula roaming the sidelines earlier, and we know how much he likes his Penn State guys. What kind of a relationship do you have with Terry?
I mean, I met him when I first came out here. We haven't talked too much, but when we first came here, we talked a little bit. You know, he's been up in the Vestal area and stuff like that. You know, so I said hi to him today, but it's kind of cool to have a Penn State guy who owns the team. So I love that aspect of it for sure.
You're 31, which is, you know, you're still a young man. Football wise,
thank you.
Yeah, no, honestly, honestly, but we heard Steph Diggs day one at camp said something interesting. How it's a sense of urgency for him, knowing that there are more days behind him than there are ahead of him. Do you kind of view that through the same lens, Daquan?
Yeah, I mean, I know how the league works. I know the thought process behind everything, and you know, I am in year 10, and everything I'm on my last leg, but that's like my motivation for real. I mean, I go out there and, you know, keep up with the young guys, you call it, or whatever it is, but I'm going out there and trying to compete at a high level and just try to show people that, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are in this league. I mean, if you can still play, you can still play, right? So I can kind of see where Diggs is coming from, but at the same time, I try not to think about it that much. Just go out there and kind of just prove people wrong in that sense and go out there and play my style of football.
Daquan, I want to go back to the end of last season. You're injured for that Bengals game, and I imagine that was real difficult for you to watch, not be able to control the outcome of that game. Take us through what led to the decision to not be in the lineup that day.
I mean, really, it just came down to, like, you know, if I go out there and play, you know, how much more damage can I do to it? You know what I mean? So it was a game time decision. I worked it out all week, and I tried to do stuff before the game to see if I can get going and get active, and it just wasn't budging how I wanted it to. And you know, I was confident in the guys to go out there and you know, get the win and go on to next week. So I was also thinking about that too. I really want to go out there, play, get the win, and still can't play next week. So I was you know, kind of just betting on the team to go out there and get the win, so I can go and play next week. But we didn't get it done, and you know, I got to live with that decision. So
mentally, how tough is that for you to be on the sideline for that?
Pretty tough because you know, I prided myself to take care of my body all year, and you know, I did everything necessary to, you know, kind of stay healthy, and just to have it happen on the last play like that was kind of annoying. So it was definitely frustrating. And, you know, at the end of the day, I can't do nothing about it now, but just, you know, make sure I take care of my body.
But do you
more.
Carry that chip into this season?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I feel like I have something to prove even more. I mean, I feel like I left my guys down out there, not being out there, and not helping them get ready for the game. So, you know, whatever I can do this year, I'm gonna do it to, you know, make sure we're all right on the same page and ready for week one.
Just my opinion. You didn't let anybody down. It's like, it's like honestly, like it's good you're taking that on. Daquan Jones, our guest here. What does it say about the Bills organization, though? Because I would imagine there's other teams that, you know what, get out there, you're fine, or we really need you out there. The fact that the Bills were looking out for your best interest.
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily told me that, all right, yeah, you know, come on, let's go out there and play. And you know, I've been in places where, like, you know, they wanted people to play banged up, and you know, it's a testament to how they are, and you know what their character is, especially with Nate and Sean, and just be able to go out there and take care of the guys for real. So I really do appreciate them that aspect of just helping me out and take care of me and get me in here to come into year 10.
Daquan, there's a lot of competition on the Bills' offensive line this year. You're going up against these guys every day in practice. What are you seeing so far out of the right guard competition, left guard? I mean, new faces in new places. How's it been going up against that offensive line?
You know, they've been out there competing their butt off since day one, and you know, no matter who's in there, there's not really a drop off. You know what I mean? They're out there competing to come off the ball, they're flying, they're being physical, and you know, as a D-line, we talked about that the other day, like, yo, the best we've seen them, you know, even last year, like, the best group. No matter who's in there, they're coming off the ball and they're doing their job. So I'm excited to see he comes out that wins that battle.
How do you like the camp setting here, Daquan? And do you have friends and family coming up to watch it?
Yeah, I mean, I got like 10 people here today. High school teachers and coaches. They're over there with their kids and stuff. So they come up here to support me. My dad comes up pretty often, so it's kind of cool seeing him over here and being in this environment. I love the setup. I love how we're in the dorms, coming out here to practice. And I love the whole vibe.
Did you have that same setup with Carolina, with Tennessee, or was that where you're at the facility?
Yeah, Tennessee, we're at the facility. Carolina, we went to Spartanburg College, but the setup here is a lot better. Over there, if you felt like you were in college, open bathroom, it was miserable over there, but way better over here. So I love this setup.
Last one for me, Daquan, and it's about the Bills and the expectation, because this time last year, Super Bowl favorite, and we all know how last year went.
Yeah.
This year, there's people that are not even picking you for the division. Do you take exception to that? Do you use that as motivation?
No, I mean, keep all the lights on who you want. The Jets and Miami, keep them on them. We're going to be over here in the shadows just working and work on our craft and trying to be the best team we can be and best individual players we can be, make the team better. But that really does not bother me at all. I mean, they get paid to talk and start drama and stuff like that. So let it be, and all we can do is come to work every day and button up our shirts and go out there and work.
Daquan, really appreciate you giving us some time this morning.
No problem. Thank
appreciate you stopping by after practice. Enjoy the rest of camp. Enjoy the preseason. Stay healthy. Daquan Jones joining us earlier, right after practice. That's from earlier today here at St. John Fisher University. Bills Camp Live in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I could be wrong here, but I've yet to hear any Buffalo Bills say when that question, kind of a variant of that question, oh, yeah, I take exception. That's motivation. I guarantee if this season goes the way the Buffalo Bills wanted to, yep, see, we took note of that. We paid attention.
Yeah.
They're paying attention.
Absolutely.
Trust me.
Absolutely. Exciting day today here at St. John Fisher. We had the rain early this morning. We had Sean McDermott speak before practice, give us a little bit of shed a little bit of light on the camp battles that are happening right now, and paying homage to Marv Levy, who celebrates his 98th birthday today. Hall of Fame weekend. We've got action tonight in the NFL between the Jets and the Browns. We had the full practice where we had some plays being made by those corner two nominees, that your Khair Elams, your Dane Jacksons, both coming down with picks today. Both of those guys in that competition to start opposite Trey White. We learned from Joe Marino that it may not come down to who starts opposite Trey White until you get to game day, and it might just be matchup dependent week in and week out.
And I'm fine with that. And you know what? It's been kind of the way it's been here. We've been talking all the way. You can go all the way back to, Levi Wallace and Kevin Johnson, the year that the Bills lost to Houston in the playoffs.
Now, there have been picks by this defense throughout the course of training camp at the hands of Josh Allen, and that's one of the keys, obviously, going into this year is, can Josh Allen eliminate some of those mistakes, some of those turnovers? He hasn't been prone. He hasn't been perfect in practice, and he hasn't had a day where it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, he's made some unbelievable throws. There's been some great connections, but there's also been some mistakes, some poor throws, some miscommunications. A lot has happened since last we spoke to Josh Allen. We had him on set last week, and I know today during his press conference he actually was asked about being on quarterback season 2, something we pressed him on that he didn't really want to answer, but he did give a little bit more clarity into his thoughts on that and more when Josh Allen spoke to the media earlier today. This is Josh Allen's press conference from post-practice here at St. John Fisher University. Bills Camp Live on the Fan Rochester.
A couple of days ago, actually back-to-back days, looks like you got dinged up, especially on that trick play. What was going through your mind as that context hitting you hit the ground?
I got the wind knocked out of me pretty good there. I woke up the next day, or the next 2 days really, and it's like, damn, I feel like I just played a game, It's football. When we're out here, I like getting hit sometimes too. Makes me feel alive.
Hey, what have you noticed throwing against when Taylor Rapp's involved and stuff? I mean, you kind of take notice of they've moved him around a lot. Have you any thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's kind of playing that rover type position where he's kind of got free range to move around back there, and he's a smart ball player. That's why one of the reasons why we brought him here, and we're just happy that he's on our team. And again, he flies around, and he's instinctive. He sees things coming around. You just got to be very careful of where he's at throwing these inside slants, because sometimes he's on his horse coming downhill, and you don't want to throw any hospital balls, is what we call them.
Josh, this far in the camp, we had talked about a number of new parts for you offensively. You had spoken to trying to limit the turnovers and taking that approach, but still be aggressive. How is it all kind of coming together so far?
Yeah, again, it takes time. We're just trying to work hard and work the kinks out. I'm glad we're making mistakes now and learning from them and trying to correct them the next time that we go out there. And again, it's not going to be perfect right away. We got to talk through a lot of different things. And again, nothing that we did last year carries over to what we're going to do this year. We're going to be a completely different ball club based on personnel and scheme, and every year you got to find new ways to be different than you were last year and to be better than you were last year. And that sometimes takes a deep dive into what you're good at, what you're bad at, how can we improve on the bad, and how can we continue to call the good. So defenses have tape of what we like to do, and they're going to come out and try to stop that and force us to do what maybe we weren't so good at last year, and we got to be prepared for that.
Josh, I don't know what you knew of Deontay Hardy before you guys signed him, but from that point till now, has your understanding of what he can do, perception of what he is as a player, how much has that changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we first got him, it was kind of a gadget guy, speed demon, but the man can run routes. He's a very, very fine-tuned receiver. In and out of breaks, he's really, really good. He comes downhill, is very friendly for quarterbacks. And he can do a lot more, I think, than what we thought he could when we originally brought him in. But he can play inside and he can play outside, and he's a vertical threat that teams are going to have to respect, and his speed speaks for itself. But again, just the ability for him to get in and out of cuts, he's very explosive that way, so we're excited to have him.
What kind of dynamic does James Cook bring in the pass game?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the threat of him being back there and taking a handoff and running outside zone, running inside zone, and then running outside and a linebacker and running some of these option routes that our offense calls our running backs to do. I think he's becoming really, really good at those, and we got to continue to incorporate those in our game plan and feed him the ball a little bit more because he is so explosive with the ball in his hands. He can make guys miss. Again, the more times we can get him the ball, the better.
We can't would have you made of the chemistry with you and Dalton?
I mean, I love the kid. He's smart. He's instinctive. We're just trying to get on the same page right now, but really trusting in his body language, and he's speaking very easily to the quarterbacks right now and giving us good places to throw the ball for him.
We've heard a couple of your teammates say that he doesn't act like a rookie, and I feel like every year in this kind of do the exact same thing about somebody. But what to you does that mean? He doesn't act like a rookie.
I mean, I just feel like no moment right now is too big for him. He understands the offense. He understands his role in the offense. He's not trying to do more than what he needs to. And sometimes rookies, when they come in here, they put a lot of that pressure upon themselves of, I got to make sure everything's perfect. Go out there and just play hard and learn the system. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think that's what he's doing really well right now. He's trusting guys like Dawson and Coach Rob in his room and leaning heavily on them. And the communication that I've been having with him has been fantastic. So, again, that's only going to continue to grow and get better.
A lot of quarterbacks around the league have weighed in on whether or not they want to be on Quarterback Season 2, the documentary. Would you have any interest in that, or will you be sick during that too?
Probably the latter. I haven't watched it yet. I know I talked to Pat a little bit about it, and I think it's a really cool concept. I think that to have everything documented, especially as a quarterback, is very cool. I mean, you look at some of the documentaries that have come out in the past, and you talk about the Jordan documentary, but just to have that documented, especially if you can win and win at a high level and continue to be a successful quarterback in this league, to have that documented, I think is super special. But at the same time, I don't want any outside distractions. I don't want any unnecessary distractions for myself or this team, and I'm not saying that would be. I'm a little undecided on whether I would want to do it or not. I go back and forth sometimes in my mind, but as of right now, I'm just trying to be the best quarterback for this team.
Ken had talked about as an overall approach to the offense, and I realize it's still a work in progress, but being less predictable. He felt like as last season went on, that was more the case. Do you feel at this point that it's more diverse or balanced, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. How would you describe things with some of the new parts that you guys are going to bring once the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially when we're dropping back to throw the ball, just the options and the opportunities that we're giving different guys. I don't think it's honed in on one guy, and obviously we're going to play better when me and 14 are playing really well and opening up everything for a lot of other guys on the team. But it takes everybody. It takes all 11 of us, and we're just trying to find out what we can be really good at, and maybe what to stay away from right now in this time frame. And I think that's a big part of camp. Just trying to find what guys are comfortable with. But again, I don't think there's a time right now. I think with some of the pre-snap stuff and motions and this and that, and just switching guys into different positions. I know people have reported it, and it's not a secret. Now, if we do that in the game, that's different. But right now in camp, just trying to experiment with different things and to field different guys in different spots. And I think that just kind of makes it harder for a defense to know or feel like where the ball's going, because it could literally go to any of our guys on the field at any given time.
Kyer had that interception today. John Butler talked about putting him in positions to let him be physical at the line of scrimmage. What did you see on that play? What have been your impressions of Kyer throughout the year?
Yeah, the refs didn't throw a flag on that one, and no, he jumped a slant route and got inside there. Made a good play, but he's been very physical. I'm his locker mate, so every time I stand by or sit next to him, and he's got his iPad out and he's watching film. He's in the training room watching film, and he's very, very serious about his craft, and he's working extremely hard right now. And it's good to see him kind of taking this step in his second year. And I know he's so internally driven. He wants to be a great football player, so he's working extremely hard at that. And I'm proud of how he's approached things.
Josh, like the past few off seasons, you've come to camp with something specifically that you wanted to work on. There was the in-breaking routes a couple of years ago. What is that this year, if you have anything at all, and have you been able to incorporate that into practice this first week and a half?
Yeah, I think just being situationally better in terms of the flow of the game, and it's hard to emulate that in a practice setting. I know Coach McDermott puts us in these different situations to make it feel as game-like as possible. Sometimes it's hard to do that, though, but as these preseason games, as they start rolling around, even just watching other games, sitting down and understanding what we would try to do in this situation, and what we could do better from those, situations. Every year around the league, you see in the preseason just different things pop up that may not pop up during the season at all, but to have that in the back of your mind to get some mental reps at those just in case it happens, it's good to have.
Josh, you and Mitch are going into year 5 together, which is pretty rare for a quarterback center combo. When it comes to calling out protections and that communication, can you describe how comfortable you are with that at this point?
Yeah, Mitch knows what he's doing. It's good to have a vet like that in the room. That we've been together for a long time. We know each other in and out, and I've spent a lot of time under center with him, so I'm very comfortable with who he is and just the man he is. He's a freaking awesome dude. He's a great leader for this team. He's a captain for a reason, and it's very comfortable knowing that he knows what's going on at all times.
Is there an extra level that you can get to when you have been together? You think about Mike and Jordan being together for so long, things they can do as a safety combo. Is there more that you can do when you've been with the same center for so long?
Yeah, I mean, there's always ways to improve.
About tomorrow night, kind of looking ahead, and you had said make it feel more game-like, whatever. You referenced that a couple of responses ago. Sean spoke to that this morning, that maybe not for you, but some of the younger players or whatever, get into the stadium with a crowd in there. How much do you look forward to it, and how beneficial is a night like tomorrow?
Well, I think it's very cool for our new guys, rookies included, to see our fans in our stadium and to feel the energy in there. And Bills Mafia, I know they're salivating to get back in that stadium, and the fans here have been fantastic. Rochester always is so good for us, and I love St. John Fisher, so I can't thank the staff and everybody here for helping put this on enough. But it does feel good to be in your home stadium and playing some football.
Josh, we talked to you last year coming into the season, you guys Super Bowl favorites. This past offseason, a lot more talk about other teams, Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Chiefs. We asked Dion, does he hear that outside noise? And he just said, who cares? I'm curious how you feel.
Yeah, I think internally we all kind of feel the same way. We're just trying to put our best foot forward and work as hard as we can and let you guys in the media talk about all that other stuff. We're going to focus on just trying to be the best team and best versions of ourselves every time we step into our facility and every time we step out on this practice field. Thank you, guys.
There is Josh Allen earlier today, his full press conference from post-practice here at St. John Fisher University, talking about the media. NFL Network was here today. We saw Ian Rappaport walking around. Steve Mariucci was here. Hansen was here. The NFL Network crew on site today to take on the Buffalo Bills practice.
Yeah, self-improvement. There's chalk another one up like, no, we're not going to take the bait on being, we're thinking we're the underdog. We don't really care what you think or who's going to pick against us here.
I don't know. I feel like we've got y'all caught up on everything that happened here at St. John Fisher University today at practice, as now all focus shifts to Highmark Stadium, the return of the blue and the red tomorrow, 5:30 in Orchard Park, and then the team returns back here to St. John Fisher on Sunday. It always feels bittersweet when I see the Mayflower moving trucks here at the campus as they kind of move some of their gear and equipment from Fisher back to Buffalo, only to bring it back to Fisher for practice on Sunday.
Yeah, come next Thursday, I call it the Buffalo 500. Like, it'll be a quick practice, and then everybody, shoom!
Yeah.
Out of here.
Waste any time to get back to the facility once camp is closed out. But we're fortunate to be here. Let us be your ears and eyes at St. John Fisher for Buffalo Bills training camp, as we'll be on tomorrow from our High Falls studios and, of course, back here next week. Now, Monday's practice closed to the public. We will be here reporting on what we can report on during Monday's practice. And then Tuesday, again, a day off for the team before they return Wednesday and Thursday to wrap things up here at St. John Fisher.
Coming up in shots, we've got some Yankee news today. Again, the Yankees didn't do anything at the trade deadline, and, well, they got to get it together. They're playing Houston.
It's a crazy story.
Yeah. First of all, you had the sad story regarding Domingo Germán. We'll get to that, but this story about Anthony Rizzo is just bonkers, and I don't know if the Yankees are living in the year 1983, but it certainly sounds that way. You draw your own conclusion. Yes, we have some hot uniform talk concerning the Rochester Red Wings, some PGA we can get to, and anytime we can mention Johnny Manziel, we're going to do so.
All right, we'll get to that and more next. It's time for a round of shots here in the Sports Bar as we continue live from Buffalo Bills training camp. St. John Fisher University, it's Bills Camp live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
It happens just once a year. It's the annual Jacuzzi Truckload Sale at the Ace Swim and Leisure Chilai Avenue store location. This week, only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The lowest prices of the year on the only original jacuzzi brand. We're talking spas. We're talking swim spas. We're talking huge savings and special financing available. 3313 Chilai Avenue. You're going to find a parking lot full of savings. The trucks are here now, but it'll be gone by Sunday night. It's Ace Swim and Leisure.
update.
Buffalo Bills have wrapped up practice for the week here at St. John Fisher. Now, tomorrow night, it's the blue and red scrimmage at One Bills Drive, something that quarterback Josh Allen is ready for.
It's very cool for our new guys, rookies included, to see our fans in our stadium and to feel the energy in there. And Bills Mafia, I know they're salivating to get back in that stadium, but it does feel good to be in your home stadium and playing some football.
We have football tonight. It's the Hall of Fame game between the Jets and the Browns. On the Major League scoreboard, Phillies doubling up the Marlins this afternoon by a 4-2 to score. Orioles hanging on. They go to the 8th, leading in Toronto 3-1. Danny Mendick of Pittsburgh got on the mound today for the Mets. He's a position player. That's not good. Orioles over the Mets 9-2. Wings tonight, Scranton Wilkes-Barre. We're live from St. John Fisher University. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, it's time for a round of shots in the Sports Bar. Gino?
The baseball season is over for Yankees starting pitcher Domingo Germán. He's entered a program for alcohol abuse. He was back on June 28th at Germán. Had the 24th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. His season ends with a 5-7 record and an ERA of 4.56. Tonight it's going to be Clark Schmidt on the mound getting the call. New York hosting Houston. That's a 7:15 first pitch on Fox. One other Yankee note, Anthony Rizzo is going to go on the injured list. The team thinks he may have suffered a concussion when he collided with Fernando Tatis of the Padres. That game happened back in May.
Ridiculous.
Manager Aaron Boone says that Rizzo has reported symptoms of being foggy.
Just ridiculous mismanagement by the Yankees. You either have a concussion or you don't. There's no mild concussion. If you're concussed, you're concussed. How do you not diagnose something that happened back in May and now retroactively say, well, he might have a concussion or he might have... Come on, what are we doing?
It's a yes or no.
This is a human being we're talking about.
Well, look, baseball. You learn from the NFL. Take it a little more seriously. Do you have a protocol when that comes to that, son? It's some hot uniform talk, if we may, here at Danger, courtesy of the Rochester Red Wings.
All right, let's set the mood here for some hot uniform talk.
Yeah, you tell me if this is hot or not. The Rochester Red Wings unveiling a new jersey. It's actually going to be for their alter ego, the Rochester Plates. It's a mustard-colored jersey with the Plates logo just on the upper crest. That's going to be worn on Thursday, August 10th. The unveiling coming in a video today where GM Dan Mason played the role of Bob Ross.
Yes.
They did it again.
Red Wings social media always stepping up. Mace always stepping up with great promotions. And in a world where the Savannah Bananas are on ESPN, why not wear the all yellow as you're the Rochester Plates? I can't wait to see what those look like.
Yeah, that'll be next week when the team is back home against Lehigh Valley, a team on the road once again at Scranton Wilkes-Barre tonight. 2024 golf season of the PGA. It's going to have a true calendar schedule for the first time in 10 years, but that's not the only change coming up. According to Eamon Lynch of Golf Week, only 4 of the 12 designated events next year are actually going to have a cut.
Here we go.
Yeah, designated events feature limited fields and a larger purse, and now if you're invited, the majority of these events you're going to be playing on Sunday.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a step towards what Live Golf kind of proposed when they launched, right?
Yeah, and I would think that even if you get kind of a runaway tournament on a Sunday, that would help with ratings if you see one of your favorite golfers.
I know
out there.
that they're trying to turn it into a major event, but somebody, and I love watching golf. Golf is fun to me, but I, for the life of me, cannot understand the FedEx Cup. Can somebody explain to me the point system for the FedEx Cup, how it all works, who's in contention, how these I mean, that and what NASCAR has done with their,
Right.
I don't understand the point system. It's not clear.
Think of it this way. If the PGA was in its old calendar, we'd be gearing up for that right now. It would be like next week when it was in August. And I think that was smart, actually. Let's move it to May, and yes, it's tough for the Northeast, but you're getting lost once football comes along. It feels like gimmick.
It's a gimmick.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure it makes FedEx happy that they have their money is being well spent with all of the mentions that they're getting through the course of the fall as being the sponsor of the FedEx Cup. I just want to understand, how do you win it? Like, who's in contention? How do you win it? How does the point system work? Nobody has ever really been able to explain it to me. And I'm sure I could. Again, I'm the first to admit, I'm not all that bright. Sometimes I need a little explanation. Just go ahead and tell me. Make it really, really idiot-proof for me so I can understand and actually potentially enjoy some PGA golf in the fall.
Maybe you've seen this viral video going around. It looks like an SNL sketch. It's not. This was real. At the World University Games, Somalia's Nasara Ali Abukar competed in the 100-meter race on Tuesday. But you're realizing, wait a second, what is going on here? It was clear that she's not qualified. She finished 21.81 seconds. That's a full 10 seconds behind the second from last finisher. Now, according to Newsweek, there are allegations that she's related to an official within the Somali Athletics Federation.
That's awesome. I'm sure she had the time of her life. And now I'm wondering to myself, because I'm not familiar with what a good... I mean, I imagine that if you're running a sub-10-second 100-meter race, you're probably elite, world class. So she did it in about double the time that it took these athletes.
You have to. This will come across your feed at some point, because they show these world-class sprinters, and then they just show this normal-looking woman. It's like, wait a second, what is this? Just some normal college kid running out there. Finally, Johnny Football is returning to Texas A&M, sort of, coming soon. 15 minutes from the campus, it'll be Johnny Manziel's Money Bar. That's what he's calling it, the Money Bar. Manziel sharing the post on his Instagram story, adding he's always wanted to own a shot at a bar at Northgate. Details are thin, though, regarding the bar. No opening date's been provided. Texas A&M season begins on September 2nd, so you have to move pretty quick if that bar is going to be open by the season
Now,
opener.
we have partnerships with many, many fine bars in our area, bars and restaurants. Gino, why is it every bar owner I ever talk to is miserable about owning their bar? Like, it's a tough racket. It's a tough business. And the hours are long, and there's so much red tape, so many hoops. I feel like every bar owner I talk to or have a relationship with can't wait to the day. It's like owning a boat. Like, I can't wait for the day where I can get this burden off of my chest.
For a half second, I was like in a phase in my life, this is like 20 years ago, where, okay, what do I want to do? You know, I think I could do this. And then, no, the executive producer quickly talked me out of it. Like, no, you do not want to go down that road.
Bar owners hate owning bars. Like, everyone I know. I don't know what it is. Well, I know what it is.
Wow.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
It's all angles all the time.
But good luck. I'm sure Johnny Manziel will be just fine. He's got a level head.
Look, he just said, okay, how much would it cost for me to put my name on this? Or or how much will you pay me to put the name on it? He'll be there one night. That'll be it.
Yeah. Well, good for him. At least we're hearing about him moving in the right direction and not the wrong direction for once.
Come on, you don't want to retire. You don't want to, when you're done with this show, Danger, you don't want to cash in like Danger Zone.
Not happening. Not happening. Like I said, I'm pretty sure everybody that I know that owns a bar or has owned a bar hated or hates owning that bar. It's a symptom of owning a bar. Like, I can't wait to sell this place, or God, I'm so happy I sold that place. That's all I feel like I ever hear from bar owners. So to those who do own the establishments, good on you. I appreciate the hard work that goes into that industry, and you guys do a good job, even though you're probably miserable doing the job that you're doing. Whew. Okay, a round of shots here in the sports bar.
Appropriately named today.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks to Johnny Manziel. We'll get to last call next. If you want to join us, 866-4FAN is the number, 866-4326. We'll let you know who's stopping by the sports bar tomorrow afternoon as we're back in our High Falls studios with the Bills taking the show on the road back to Orchard Park for the return of the blue and the red. More next on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country.
There's a lot there.
ACY Odyssey.
The U.S. women's soccer team is taking on the world, and you can take home bonus bets every time they win with FanDuel. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Because right now, new customers get $100 in bonus bets guaranteed, plus another $10 in bonus bets for every Team USA win. Just go to FanDuel.com/Mike and sign up between now and later tonight, August 3rd. Your deadline is today. Place your first $5 bet and unlock your bonus bets. That way, you'll be all set to bet on everything from total goals to player props. All tournament long, we know Team USA taking on Sweden in the wee hours of Sunday morning. Bet it your way with great promotions every day. It's safe, it's secure, and when you win, you get paid instantly. However you want to play, don't miss your chance to get $10 in bonus bets for every Team USA win, plus $100 in bonus bets guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com/Mike to sign up today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. in our High Falls studios tomorrow afternoon for our show before returning out here again Monday afternoon for a practice closed to the public. It is last call at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. And you know that John from Rochester had to give us a shout during last call and weigh in with some thoughts on the Buffalo Bills. John, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. You know, it's pretty cool. Johnny Manziel, I'll tell you, when he was at his peak, it was exciting. I'll never forget when he came into the stadium for first time he came into Buffalo. It was a pretty exciting time. But, you know, Marv Levy, I guess he's being honored of the 98th birthday.
Yeah.
Tonight.
And I got a story about Marv. I went to a Jim Kelly Hunter's fundraising thing it had to be about 14, 15 years ago. And I had a couple of beers in me, and I went up to Marv, and I put my arm around him, and I go, Marv, where would you rather be than right here or right now? And he got kind of ticked off at me and said, at the dinner table. And he left.
Every story I've ever heard about Marv Levy, gracious, gentleman, interactions, only you, John.
John from Rochester was the straw that broke Marv Levy's back. He couldn't take it.
Come on, he's busting your chops, though, is he not, when he says that?
No.
I mean, you're talking 14 years ago. Marv Levy's 84 years old.
because-
I would be okay if he was a curmudgeon at 84 and John got in his way of dinner and just said, hey, man, move out of the way. I want to get to my table.
But he was, you know, I feel bad because he was probably about 85 years old or so, and he was a little frail. So I think he he didn't like me just put my arm around him like that. But anyways, I love Marv, and where would you rather be than right here, right now? I mean, I think he patented that saying, didn't he?
I don't know if he did, but certainly you attribute him for saying that. John, appreciate that, and
a great rallying cry, by the way, to start Buffalo Bills home games. You know, you kind of love the legend is living on with Marv Levy through his words and through his actions over the course of time. You heard Sean McDermott earlier today just heaping praise on the man and how he was influential in Sean McDermott becoming what he is today.
Yeah, and for Marv, too, like the idea that, hey, how do you live longer? You exercise. And the story of, like, he's in his 80s, as the Bills GM, by the way, at that point, because the franchise was such a disaster after Tom Donahoe left, working on an elliptical. And here's young Sean McDermott like, oh, gosh, what do I do for coach? And that's when the two met back then.
Now, if you missed any of today's show, you can go back, including the press conference with Sean McDermott. You can go back and listen in the free-to-download Odyssey app with Rewind. You can listen for the next 72 hours anytime, anywhere. Sean McDermott's press conference, Josh Allen's press conference, a conversation with the Locked On Bills podcast host, Joe Marino, and Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Daquan Jones, all available via Odyssey Rewind. If you're a podcast listener, find our conversations with Marino and with Daquan Jones now. Just search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows. Tomorrow on the show, did I hear you say Mike Waters of the Syracuse Post-Standard?
Yeah, a little fantasy, too. Jeff Erickson from RotoWire as well.
Awesome. Tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock, we'll be back in our studios at High Falls for Gene Battaglia, Derek the Pizza Dude, and the Dandalorian, the bounty hunter, the finest sound in the galaxy. Thanks for joining us here, Buffalo Bills Training Camp Live.